Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto has Wields Suzumebachi part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. The Chunin exam finals had come, the crowd roared with approval at seeing that the majority of the best genin in their shinobi village were participating and even more pleased with the events now before them. At the moment, they were seeing Uzumaki Naruto fighting Hyuga Neji in an all-out fight, and the latter of the two had just scored a crucial blow against the blonde whom the people hated with a passion. It seemed victory for the Hyuga branch family member of the Hyuga clan had obtained the victory he proclaimed fate deemed was his and his alone to have in this match. That fate was tied to all things, fate was the one to decide who was the victor and who was the loser in life. However, if there was one thing Uzumaki did, it was shatter the illusion of fate and the way people saw things. You were failed to lose from the start, Uzumaki. Fate has declared me the victor of our match, and fate had declared you a failure just like back at the academy, said Neji, as he saw Naruto struggle to get up and cough up some blood. You bastard. You call me a loser, but at least I never tried to kill Hinata over some crap that happened years ago, and clearly wasn't her fault, said Naruto before Neji dashed forward and kicked him in the face. It was her fault. She was weak, said Neji, seeing Naruto sit up with a grin on his now bloody face. Baka. She was child. Her kidnapper was a jounin from Kumo. How could she possibly fight him off? How can you possibly justify your actions knowing that? Said Naruto, as the face of Hyuga Neji scowled further and lashed out with his gentle fist, with a strike hitting directly in the heart where he had aimed for Hinata in their duel. Because fate decrees that I can. Unlike you, I have no illusions about being free and no illusions about having a choice, said Neji, while seeing Naruto's shocked pain-filled face look at him for a few seconds before the Uzumaki boy grinned again. And laughed. Then allow me to shatter the notion of fate for you. Shatter. Kimkasa Jutsu. Said Naruto before his form shattered like glass, much to the surprise of Neji and the people in the stadium. What the hell? What kind of jutsu was that? Said Neji, only to be stabbed from behind with the sword responsible for his injury sticking out of his stomach. Poor deluded fool. Fate has no power over me. Fate is an illusion. An illusion you have had forced upon you by the adults of this village like they did me. But I am not bound to such an illusion, said the smooth deep voice of Uzumaki Naruto from behind Neji, which was much different than what everyone else was used to, and it wasn't just his voice that changed either. Naruto had changed entirely. No longer was Naruto the spiky blonde-haired, blue-eyed, orange-wearing, ramen-eating loudmouth who spoke of being Hokage and acting like a complete fool. The Naruto that stood behind Neji was wearing black shinobi pants, black shirt, white trench coat, his hair was pulled back with a single strand of blonde hair and face that was smoother now, though the whisker marks that everyone used to recognize him as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki were now thicker. How? You shouldn't, said Neji, as he felt the sword being pulled out of his back and fell to his knees. Shouldn't what? Know anything about swords? Know anything at all? What you know about me is just an illusion. An illusion I have cast over the eyes of the village since I turned 8 years old, said Naruto, as his mind drifted to the memory of how things had first changed for him then, and it all began with what he found in the Hokage's office. The forbidden scroll of sealing. Flashback 4 years ago. Naruto waited patiently for the Hokage to get back from whatever it was he had been out doing, which always seemed to be the case with the old man, and the blonde decided to sit in the Sandame's chair until he got back. Of course, after what seemed like a long while to the impatient boy that Naruto was, being in Uzumaki with all their childlike impatience, and started to look around the room. He had felt something in the past few years of something calling out to him, but could never truly hear it and wondered if the Hokage should know. Ultimately, Naruto felt the old man shouldn't know, as the Hokage might think he was not right in the head and have his head looked at. Now that he was in this room alone, Naruto felt the call of this feeling get even stronger and calling out to him behind a wall holding the pictures of the previous Hokages of Konoha. After examining the pictures, the boy found a safe behind the Yondaime Hokage's picture and being the Uzumaki he was had picked the lock to get into it. Then pulled out a large scroll with the kanji forbidden written on it. Placing the scroll on the Hokage's desk, Naruto unrolled it to see what wonders it held and saw the name of various jutsus, techniques, and skills that made the lead so strong written down in detail. This very scroll was a treasure trove of knowledge that could be dangerous in the wrong hands, and right now it was in the hands of a just turned 8-year-old blonde Kyuubi Jinchuriki. What's this? Said Naruto, as he saw a seal with a spiral on it and for some reason felt a need to touch it. Upon doing so, the seal activated before revealing a sheathed sword and a rolled up letter attached with the same seal on it. Touching the seal on the rolled up letter, it broke with mere seconds and the paper unfolded to reveal what was written. Dear Naruto. If you're reading this, then you've found my greatest treasure that I myself found many years ago and tried yet failed to use to its maximum potential. It fell from the sky many years ago, landing hard with a huge crater being created from the impact, and when I took hold of the sword, did I learn what kind of sword in my hands really was. It's called a Zanpakuto. A sword used by the Shinigami himself. A weapon used by a death god and was apparently very powerful from what the Zanpakuto told me. I know it sounds crazy, but the blade is actually a sentient weapon, which has a name, and only by speaking the name of the Zanpakuto do you unlock its true power. I have failed to do so, even though I came pretty close along the time I was pregnant with you, which when looking back, was most likely because I was pregnant with you, and thus means the Zanpakuto's true user is you Naruto. My son, I want to say I'm sorry for what your father and I had no choice in forcing upon you. It was never our intention of turning you into a Jinchuriki of Kyuubi, as I would never wish to do that to my own child, and I know your father didn't want it either. While I have hoped against hope with my dying breath that you were told by the Hokage about your burden, as well as your heritage to us, there is a good chance that you were not told anything by the old monkey, and your father's dying wish was not honored in the slightest. Given the history of those burdened with what you have, I'm inclined to lean on the latter, and thus have not been told anything about what you now are. Don't be frightened my son, for I too was once the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, as was another Uzumaki before me, and knew our burden was going to be a heavy one. If it were up to me, I would have taken the Kyuubi with me when I died, but sadly that is not the case, and your father was forced to seal it into you. The old monkey promised us he would tell you about the Uzumaki clan, our home in the land of Whirlpool, and our skills in the sealing arts that made us so feared in the first place. Though something tells me the man we trusted has other plans for you and Konoha will not have your best interest at heart. My only hope is you can use this Zanpakuto to its fullest potential and follow the path you want in life, regardless of what others may try to do in order to direct you along theirs. Sincerely. Uzumaki Kushina. Naruto continued to read the letter several times as he couldn't believe this was real and then looked at the Zanpakuto before realizing this was real. But why the deception? Why hide the letter? The truth about why people in the village hated him? Why did the Hokage lie to him about everything? It didn't make sense to him. Reaching over to the Zanpakuto in question, it glowed upon him touching the handle, and the Uzumaki's world went dark. Then flashback. Naruto smirked further at the memory. The Zanpakuto had called to him, as it was his to wield, and had proven that after meeting Kimka Sagetsu for the first time. The Zanpakuto had shown him its previous wielder, a rogue Shinigami of captain rank by the name of Sasuke-san, who was among the most powerful of Shinigami in Soul Society, and had nearly brought it to its knees. However, upon seeing his plans had not gone exactly like he planned, Aizen had apparently anticipated being defeated, and in moments of his own defeat, did the rogue Shinigami throw Kimka Sagetsu into a small dimensional rift before anyone even knew what he had done. Do you see through the illusion that is fate now Hyuga? What you fought was an illusion. An illusion of what the people wanted me to be. What they had tried to turn me into from years under their thumb. What the academy saw was a fool, but in reality they saw the illusion of a fool, and thus they were given what they wanted. It wasn't hard. After I mastered illusionary properties of my Zanpakuto, I raided the Forbidden Scroll of Sealing a second time and learned the Shadow Clone Jutsu. I then used the combination of my Zanpakuto and Shadow Clone to fool everyone while I made move while watching and waiting for the right time to reveal myself, said Naruto before turning his head to look up at the old man sweating heavily at him. It's not possible. I would have known. I would have remembered if he used something like that weapon with such powers on me, thought the Hokage fearfully. Such power should be mine. Perhaps I can convince the Kyuubi brat to join me after I burn Konoha to the ground around me, thought Orochimaru, under the disguise of being the Kazekage of Suna. You want to know how I beat you, Neji? It wasn't skill. It wasn't even the power of my Zanpakuto. I won by using your pride against you. Your own pride, as a member of the Hyuga clan, had compelled you to fight in such a stagnant and predictable manner. All the Hyuga know is gentle fist jutsu and Kaiten. The Byakugan eyes compensate for weakness of being attacked long range by seeing the attacks before they get close enough to hit. That's it. There is a way around this, however, which is pretty simple when you think about it and exploit for future use, said Naruto as he walked around the downed Hyuga with his weapon still out and Neji struggling to rise. What are you talking about? There is no weakness, said Neji defiantly, leaping up to strike Naruto. There is that Hyuga pride of yours again. Blinding you to the truth and making you lash out violently to those that speak it. Bakuto number 1. Sigh, said Naruto before pointing at Neji with his free hand, and in an instant the Hyuga boy was on the ground again with his hands tied behind his back before eating dirt. What? What is this? Said Neji while looking up at Naruto. More of my power, said Naruto simply, but in truth it was the vast knowledge Aizen had learned and Kimka Sujetsu had stored inside to teach its user upon its name being spoken. Naruto had spent all this time learning what Aizen did in terms of Kido, and while most of them were mastered, he still had a ways to go. Coward, said Neji before Naruto stopped and looked down at him. Coward. Such an ugly word wouldn't you say when describing the situation, Neji? To call me a coward considering what you did seems hypocritical, don't you agree? Didn't you put your cousin in a similar situation a month ago? She was on the ground bleeding, hurting, and in agonizing pain just like you are now. You called her weak. Pathetic was another word you threw in too. Yet she still rose to fight. That takes courage, Neji. That takes fortitude. Something your so-called fate cannot provide when the fight is not in your favor, said Naruto as he walked away from Neji and then paused before turning to look at the proctor with a knowing look. The winner of the match is Uzumaki Naruto, said Genma, who still couldn't believe like the people in the stands watching that this person was Naruto and he was the winner of the match. That was unreal, said Ino as she saw Naruto walk so confidently towards the fighter's box and his Zanpakuto now sheathed while medics took Neji away. The Naruto we know is a lie, said Sakura in complete shock at seeing this new and supposedly real version of the blonde Uzumaki. It can't be. Naruto is weak, loud, and annoying. This is not him, said Ino in complete shock along with the rest of the rookies in the stands. Troublesome. Just when you think you've figured Naruto out, he pulls this and freaks out just about everyone in the village, said Shikamaru in the box while turning his head to face Naruto now heading towards him. It's what I do, Shikamaru, said Naruto with a simple smile, yet it had a predatory look and it made the hairs on everyone's heads around Naruto stand on end. Yeah, well, do it less so I don't get a heart attack at an early age, said Shikamaru while Naruto just chuckled. No promises, said Naruto with that same calculating predatory smile on his face. Bleach has Sasuke and Sabaku no Gaara come down to the arena now, said Genma as he saw Gaara appear, but Sasuke had yet to show up and the Kazukige's youngest was clearly upset. Where is my opponent? Said Gaara as the sight of blood being drawn in the last fight has awakened his own bloodlust and the red-haired boy was not going to be denied. Hokage-sama, what do we do? The Uchiha isn't here yet, said the Jounin bodyguard standing beside the Hokage. Isn't it obvious? You disqualify Sasuke for being late, said Naruto as he appeared behind the Jounin and nearly scared the crap out of everyone in the cage booth. Naruto. What are you doing here? Said the Sandaime Hokage surprised as he still couldn't believe the boy had become this and it frightened the old man a bit. What? I can't say hello to my most favorite person in the village, said Naruto with a grin that was not the friendly smile the Sandaime Hokage nervous. That's not it, Naruto, but you have to admit this change in your appearance is very much unexpected and I'm concerned for your well-being, said the Hokage with Naruto just narrowing his eyes slightly. Really? Were you concerned for my well-being when I was young and being beaten up by the village if not the shinobi? In some case, the very shinobi you assigned to watch over me were also the ones responsible for the attacks and yet they were barely ever punished. Why? Said Naruto seeing the old man sweating now with nervousness and the Kazekage was looking at them with interest. And Naruto, perhaps this conversation should be discussed in private and not in front of guests like the Kazekage, said the Sandaime while seeing Naruto's smile grow. Yes. We will talk to you later, Hokage-sama. Until then proceed with the matches, said Naruto before he was gone with a speed the Sandaime couldn't track. What was that? That speed was unnatural, thought the Sandaime before looking over at the fighter's box to see Naruto there like he had never left. Hokage-sama, perhaps the Uchiha's match with my son should be postponed until the boy arrives, said Kazekage while the Hokage looked over at him. No. I cannot. Every participant except the Uchiha has shown up on time for their match and to show him favor would be frowned upon, said the Hokage, though the Kazekage would not relent. But your own people and the future clients of both our villages wish to see my son fight Uchiha Sasuke. Surely, you won't deprive them of this fight and my son his happiness, said the Kazekage while the Hokage thought it over with Naruto looking back with that name calculating face from earlier. Very well. Postpone Uchiha Sasuke's match until the end, said the Hokage with the Jounin nodding and relaying the message to Genma. If the Uchiha cannot show up on time for his demise, then he is not worth my time and is a disgrace to this village, said Gaara as he went back to the fighter's box and watched his brother forfeit the match. Saving his strength for the invasion, no doubt. Little do they realize that both Suna's and Sound's forces outside the walls have been eliminated, thought Naruto smiling, knowing he had spent the last few hours before coming here destroying the outside invasion force. Will Sabaku no Tamari and Nara Shikamaru please come down for your match, said Genma with Tamari leaping down using her fan while Shikamaru groaned. I don't want to fight another girl, but I have to prove I'm a man and fight one at the same time. Troublesome. Maybe I should just forfeit like that Suna guy did, said Shikamaru to himself before raising his hand to forfeit his match. Before being pushed off the railing by Naruto. Sorry Shikamaru, but the people here want to fight and while I don't really care what the people want, I'm feeling bored right now. Entertain me, said Naruto with a chuckle. Damn blondes and their troublesome ways, thought Shikamaru, getting off the ground, wiping the dirt off and casually walking towards the center of the arena while yawning at the same time. Ready to lose? Said Tamari while grinning viciously at him. Not really, but it's too troublesome to fight and win the match, said Shikamaru, which for some reason irked Tamari since she felt he spoke more out of arrogance and wanted to beat some sense into him. Oh, so that is how it is, huh? Said Tamari angrily while reading her fan, and Shikamaru had seen a similar look on the Suna woman's face on his mother when having a talk with his father. Why is it women always get angry with me no matter what men say? Thought Shikamaru to himself before he found himself running for his life while Tamari unleashed her female fury on him via her powerful wind jutsus. Don't worry son. We all take a beating now and then, said Shikaku mumbled to himself while his wife looked over at him. What was that, honey? Said Yoshino with a sweet smile that many times in the past had been the tone that spelled doom for Shikaku if he told her something that upset her. Nothing. Said Shikaku quickly, knowing it was the quickest way to make his wife happy and avoid the woman's frying pan dubbed the emasculator by all the Nara males of the clan. Good boy, said Yoshino in that same sweet voice which told him she liked his answer and wouldn't hurt him for now. Time to meet your end. Said Tamari as she was about to send him into oblivion and beyond with her next attack. I give up. Said Shikamaru before dodging the attack. Winner by forfeit. Sabaku no Tamari. Said Genma, though Tamari seemed to get even more ticked off than before. Howard. Take your beating like a man. Said Tamari, who charged at him with her fan ready to be used like a heavy blunt weapon, and Shikamaru started running for his life in a circle with the Suna girl hot on his heels. Oh. Don't they look so cute together, Shika-kun? Said Yoshino seeing her son run for his life. She reminds me of you. Only instead of the fan, you used a frying pan and chased me all over the village, said Shikaku before feeling the iron grip of his wife on his arm and knew he was in trouble. Well, I had a good reason and I made an honest man out of you, said Yoshino while Shikaku laughed sheepishly while his wife gave him the evil eye behind the sweet smile. But you did. Can you stop crushing my arm now? Honey? Said Shikaku as he felt her grip lessen and the look in her eyes told him she was going to hurt him later. We'll talk about this later, sweetie. Said Yoshino while Shikaku started to sweat a little in fear and made a mental note to take a long-term mission from the Hokage after this was over to avoid his wife's fury. Even if his words were true when comparing her to Sabaku no Tamari. That's enough. You can hurt him later, said Naruto appearing between them and easily stopping Tamari's strike with a single finger while Shikamaru hid behind him. Fine. Make no mistake, Nara, your ass is mine and I'm going to tattoo my name on it for good measure when it is, said Tamari with a death glare. Thanks a lot, Naruto. Maybe now you'll finally believe me when I say women are scary and troublesome, said Shikamaru after breathing a sigh of relief. I heard that. Said Tamari and Yoshino at the same time. Troublesome, said Shikamaru and Shikaku with the latter crying out in pain when his wife hit him in the head with her frying pan. Next match is Uchiha Sasuke vs Sabaku no Gaara. Please come to the arena floor now to get things underway, said Genma with Gaara appearing a second later while Sasuke was nowhere to be found. It would appear Sasuke is not coming. Disqualify him, said Naruto while seeing Gaara nod in agreement. It's not up to me, you, or Sabaku no Gaara. It's up to Hokage-sama to issue the order for Sasuke be disqualify, said Genma with Naruto scoffing. The old man is a pathetic wimp. He has less of a spine than a snake, said Naruto calmly while Genma glared at him. Watch it, Gaki. He's still your Hokage, said Genma while Naruto scoffed again. Hardly. The man is a liar, an abuser, and unworthy of the power the position of Hokage grants him, said Naruto with Genma frowned further. Go back to the fighter's box, Genin, said Genma with Naruto just smirking at him. Of course. Good luck, Gaara, said Naruto before vanishing from sight. In the cage booth, the Sandaime Hokage sighed heavily as everyone waited for Uchiha Sasuke to arrive and it was making the people restless. The daimyos and future clientele were getting fed up with waiting for Sasuke to show to the point where they were booing the leaf for waiting on the boy. Hokage-sama, we can't wait any longer, said the Jounin next to the Hokage with the old man sighing. I have no choice then. Disqualify him, said the Sandaime Hokage, and even Orochimaru under the disguise of being the Kazekage knew to ask for some kind of postponement after all of this was pointless. Uchiha Sasuke is disqualified. Winner is Sabaku no Gaara. Said Genma with the people of the leaf booing the decision. Fools. They boo him now, but if they want to be saved and he's late, the tune they sing will be very different, said Naruto in the fighter's box before Gaara appeared looking angry. "I want to fight," said Gaara with his bloodlust leaking out. "Patience, Gaara. All good things come to those who wait," said Naruto calmly to his fellow Jinchuriki, while Gaara just let out a growl of sorts. "Well," said Genma, but was interrupted when Hada Kakashi and Uchiha Sasuke made their presence known in a flashy entrance. "Are we late?" said Kakashi lazily. "Yes, actually. In fact, had you been here a little sooner, the Hokage wouldn't be forced to declare Uchiha Sasuke disqualified and thus make the Leaf look incompetent in front of our future clients," said Genma with Kakashi looking shocked and Sasuke's face showed anger. "But what about Sasuke's match with Gaara?" said Kakashi, as he didn't expect this to happen and had been assured by the Hokage that the boy would participate despite being tardy. "Ended with Gaara being the winner by disqualification. Hokage-sama postponed your match and then everyone waited for Sasuke to appear. Eventually, the clientele and the daimyos were getting impatient," said Genma seeing Sasuke scowl before smirking. "Well, I'm here. I bet that loser failed in his fight against Neji," said Sasuke confidently while Kakashi smirked behind his mask. "Actually Naruto won. Shocked the hell out of too with his strange powers," said Genma with Sasuke frowning while Kakashi shrugged while thinking it was Kyuubi's chakra he used. "I wouldn't praise him too much, Genma. Considering the power he used is not really his own," said Kakashi while Sasuke looked up at him with a raised eyebrow. "Actually, the power Naruto used isn't what you think it is, Kakashi, and would actually be surprised if not proud to know the Gaki won without it," said Genma while Kakashi just waved him off. "If you say so," said Kakashi in a bored tone while reading his book. "What about me? I'm here to participate in the finals," said Sasuke seeing Genma frown at him. "Not happening. The Hokage declared you are disqualified and are now out of it," said Genma with Sasuke once again looking livid. "He can't do this to me. I need to participate in order to advance. Itachi was already past Chunin at my age. I need to prove myself," said Sasuke while Genma shook his head. "Not today. Go up to the stands. Your teammate is up next," said Genma before Naruto appeared in an instant. "You heard the Proctor Uchiha. Go watch from the stands," said Naruto with a smile while Sasuke sneered at him and Kakashi frowned. "What's with the new look, loser? Trying out for some kind of Hokage wanted contest? Who do you think you are? Huh? The Yondaime? Huh? Get out of the arena. This is my fight now," said Sasuke before an invisible pressure covered the arena grounds and the Uchiha fell to his knees along with the two Jounin around him while Naruto just looked down at him with a bored expression on his face. "Foolish boy. You have neither the right nor the power to command me to leave," said Naruto while seeing Sasuke suffocating under his power. Another little thing Kimka Sujetsu taught him that Aizen himself did. But that said, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki stopped his power from crushing the Uchiha and waited for Temari to come down to the arena floor. However, she decided not to fight and forfeit her match against him. Hence why Gaara was now standing in the arena for the third time with a grin on his face while ignoring Sasuke struggling to get off the ground. "You were right, Uzumaki Naruto. All good things do come to those who wait. I will now finally get my chance to fight a strong opponent. You," said Gaara while staring at Naruto with the bloodlust coming off of him in waves. "No, you're not. I'm your opponent. Not this loser," said Sasuke only to be backhanded in the gut by Naruto and making the Uchiha fall to his knees before puking. "Get out of here before I do more than just make you puke, Sasuke," said Naruto as he looked at Kakashi, who frowned in disapproval of his action but didn't care and waited for the Jounin to take Sasuke away before focusing on Gaara. "Such arrogance. It's insulting to your village," said Gaara with Naruto just smirking at him. "This isn't my village. It hasn't been for some time," said Naruto with Gaara raising an eyebrow at him. "So you would betray them," said Gaara seeing Naruto smirk a little bit more. "I cannot betray those who have already betrayed me," said Naruto with Gaara smirking now at him. "How true. Something we have in common," said Gaara while the crowd tensed at their words, realizing that these two boys, both hated since their birth, were not the submissive individuals they believed them to be and could turn on them at any second. "Yes. It seems to be happening a lot lately. Mist has lost bloodlines from their civil war. Konoha has lost its true strength due to the pride of those in power in the belief they are invincible when in fact they are lambs to the slaughter," said Naruto letting out a laugh that made the people in the stands shiver. "You are much different than I saw you a month ago, Uzumaki Naruto. You surprise me," said Gaara seeing Naruto smirk further. "I'm about to do that again once more," said Naruto shifting just a hair and Gaara knew it was time to fight and stop talking. "Ready? Fight," said Genma before bringing his hand down and leaping away from them in order to give the two more room to fight. Gaara's sand launched itself at Naruto, who was gone one moment and reappeared the next 10 feet to the left and had yet to draw his Zanpakuto. His smirk never leaving his face as Gaara frowned at him and commanded his sand to go after the Kyuubi vessel. Once more, Naruto vanished before reappearing at a different location and once more upsetting Sabaku no Gaara. His speed is unreal. It's beyond anything I could do, thought Rock Lee, as he had just arrived to watch from the stands with Mido Guy and saw the two were impressed. A boy no one thought had a chance in hell of lasting this long, now taking on the Suna's most powerful genin. Hold still, said Gaara as he kept trying to use his sand against Naruto but found it was too slow like it had been against Rock Lee, and it seemed the blonde wasn't even trying. And lose to your sand? I think not. Bakudo number 61. Rikijumquam, said Naruto pointing at the red-haired boy, which covered Gaara in 6 wide beams of light and paralyzed his entire being. That surprisingly disabled the sand too. This is not possible, said Gaara, finding himself unable to move and being unable to use his sand. Like the Uchiha, you have become arrogant and believe yourself untouchable with the sand protecting you, said Naruto, while Gaara was clearly freaked out by this. What kind of jutsus is that? Thought Orochimaru, as he was almost salivating at the idea of turning Naruto into one of his subordinates and if he could disable Kyuubi, his new vessel. I'm sorry Gaara. Hado number 4. By Akurai, said Naruto now in front of his enemy as he just pointed a finger at Gaara and shot a stream of lightning at the redhead's shoulder. It was the first time in a little over 4 years since Gaara screamed out in agonizing pain, and it made the Suna siblings watching look at Naruto with an intense fear gripping their hearts. The very notion of Gaara being hit had first been considered impossible in their eyes, as well as all of Suna, but then Rock Lee disproved the notion in the Chunin exam prelims. When he nearly defeated the youngest of the Kazukiya's children, and now the boy everyone thought didn't have a snowball's chance in hell, had just shattered the very idea of Gaara being invincible, no matter what, in front of everyone. My blood. This is my blood, screamed Gaara in disbelief as he looked at the bleeding hole out of the corner of his eye and then at Naruto with multiple emotions on his face. That it is. Now to finally put an end to this. Again, I am sorry Gaara, said Naruto as he pointed his finger at the redhead's forehead and touched the tattoo with the kanji there for love. However, before Naruto could kill Gaara, an explosion was heard in the cage booth and feathers fell from the sky to indicate a genjutsu was being used. Naruto easily dispelled from his person before freeing Gaara from the light-based prison and decided to nip the situation in the bud. He needed to see the Hokage. In a flash, Naruto was gone from the arena floor and on the roof where the Hokage was facing his former prodigal student. Seconds later, a barrier was up, preventing anyone from getting in or out of the prison the 4 bodyguards of the Sannin had created. It was clear this plan Orochimaru had set in motion to trap the Sandaime Hokage like this had been taken years of planning and could only been pulled off with inside help. Well, will you look at this, Iritobi? We have an unexpected guest, said Orochimaru as he was looking absolutely ecstatic at the idea of having Naruto on his side against the Sandaime Hokage and Konoha in general. Naruto, you need to find a way out of here, said the Sandaime Hokage as he saw the blonde smirk at him and then look at Orochimaru with calculating eyes. We meet again, Orochimaru. Or rather, for the first time without disguises, said Naruto seeing Orochimaru continue to smirk at him. Indeed. The last I saw you, boy, it was in the forest of death and you were swatted away like a fly, said Orochimaru while Naruto let out a chuckle of amusement. That? Please. What you saw, what you faced, and what you encountered was an illusion mixed with a shadow clone, filled with a significant amount of Kyuubi's chakra to make it endure the trials of the Chunin exams while I moved discreetly from the shadows, said Naruto seeing Orochimaru frown and the Sandaime looking worried. So you do have control over the fox. Impressive. I had heard reports from my spies that you were a failure at the academy and barely controlled the Kyuubi's power while under a state of intense rage, said Orochimaru seeing Naruto just chuckle louder. An illusion, Orochimaru. All that you know of me is just that, an illusion, said Naruto before training his head slightly to look at the Sandaime, who winced, and the Sannin just letting out a laugh. I imagine I'm not the only one that's been deceived. Oh sensei, I can practically see and feel the spite this boy has for you, said Orochimaru with joy singing clearly in his voice. Naruto, I don't know what side you've chosen in this fight, but the leaf is your home and should not be considered your enemy, said the Hokage as he saw scoff and focus entirely on Orochimaru. Side? Don't be so dramatic. I am not on the side of the leaf or Orochimaru's forces. I am on my side, said Naruto seeing the Hokage frown, and so did Orochimaru. How disappointing. I was hoping I could turn him against the Hokage during our fight, thought Orochimaru as he saw Naruto draw his Zanpakuto and knew the boy was far more dangerous than anyone gave him credit for. Tell me, Orochimaru, before we begin this little dance of death, I would like to know just who was your inside man of influence remotely capable of providing information to you of Konoha's patrol routes and current internal number of defenders within the village. said Naruto, seeing the Sannin narrow his eyes at him, and the Sandame's eyes widened, realizing that Orochimaru being in the leaf could only have happened with someone from high on up within the village's infrastructure. As if I would give away my friend on the inside, said Orochimaru, while Naruto just chuckled further. No. I suppose. You have some intelligence, it would seem, in not doing that, said Naruto, while Orochimaru growled at him. Enough. It's time to put an end to this once and for all. Summoning. Ito Tensei, said Orochimaru as he began the summoning process of raising 3 coffins from the ground while the Sandame tried to block at least one of them. Bakudo number 4. Hinawa, said Naruto, who surprisingly didn't direct the binding spell at Orochimaru but at the Sandame Hokage and gave the old man a cold look that told him to let the coffins rise. All 3 of the coffins. When the coffins came out of the down vertically, the lids to each one fell and revealed that the bodies of the 3 past Hokage of the leaf. However, within moments, the form of each one shattered within each coffin to reveal upon them collapsing to the ground to be just training dummy bodies. The Sandame along with Orochimaru were surprised when the forbidden jutsu used had failed to produce the end result, and the reason behind it being even more shocking. Training dummy bodies used at the academy for the more advanced classes used to train hunter nin potentials on where to strike key points of the body. What? Impossible. I saw my pawns be subdued and put into their coffins myself, said Orochimaru as he turned to Naruto, who freed the Sandame from his power and then refocused entirely on the Sannin. I told you before, Orochimaru, everything you know about me is an illusion, and while you were so busy preparing the leaf's destruction, I was preparing to counter it, said Naruto, while thinking back to the memory of his encounter with the 2 sound genin before their capture. Flashback Konoha Hospital. Naruto had used his Zanpakuto's powers to disguise himself as a simple doctor and sweet-talked a nurse that hated the Kyuubi Jinchuriki into letting him see the 2 for a checkup. After being let in, Naruto saw the girl, Atsuchi-kin, was unconscious and the other one by the name of Zaku was awake. What's this? A doctor who actually wants to help us. It's a fucking miracle, said Zaku sarcastically while the doctor just smiled a friendly smile before he vanished from sight and then appeared with a sword in hand. No. Not help you. Kill you, said Naruto before stabbing the boy cleanly through the chest out the back of his body before pulling out. Quickly using one of his abilities to remove any trace of the body, Naruto had a shadow clone henge into the wounded boy on the bed and his Zanpakuto further cast the illusion needed to fool the actual doctor or shinobi coming into the room. After that was done, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki focused on the girl now, who was just waking up and saw Naruto with his Zanpakuto in hand. Please don't kill me. I'm sorry for what happened in the Forest of Death, said Kin, as her voice was filled with fear and was trying to squirm away from Naruto despite being restrained to the bed. I know you are sorry, my dear, but like Orochimaru, I am in need of your services, and unfortunately for you the value of your life is only considered high upon it being taken away, said Naruto walking towards her bed. No. I'll run away and never return to the leaf. I sweared, said Kin, as she saw Naruto shake his head and actually look sad. You are right about one thing, my dear, you will never return to the leaf, said Naruto before he killed her with a clean swipe of his Zanpakuto. After his work was done, Naruto left via the window and no one was the wiser to what had happened. Then flashback. The 2 shadow clones had alerted him some time later to when the shadowy figures came to the hospital and took them away to the rendezvous point where Orochimaru was waiting to put them in the coffins, with a 3rd person already chosen most likely against his will. When the shadow clones were on the ground, Naruto easily switched them with the training dummy bodies, which pulled the illusion of the 2 sound genin basically losing the will to fight back and the 3rd man being slain, killed with a simple silent snap of the neck before swapping him out too. You insignificant worm, said Orochimaru angrily. That's almost funny coming from the overgrown one I see before me and would be if not for your pathetic fear of dying, said Naruto with amusement in his voice. Damn you, boy, said Orochimaru as he drew Kusanagi from his mouth and it glowed dangerously in his hands. I've heard worse insults, said Naruto, while the Sandame frowned at them. This is not the time to be casual about this, Naruto. His forces are attacking the leaf and need to be put down. Leave this fight to me, said the Sandame, while Naruto just looked over at him for a second and then turned his gaze back over to Orochimaru. They've already been slain. Both forces have fallen, said Naruto with Orochimaru now looking shocked and angry at him. No. Impossible, said Orochimaru while the Sandame looked confused. Both, said the Sandame before hearing Naruto's amused chuckle. Suna chose to ally with Orochimaru in order to severely weaken the leaf with a desire to regain their former glory after learning Konoha's own alliance with them was bleeding their village dry. Something you had hand in when it came to the negotiations, isn't that right, Hokage-sama, said Naruto while seeing the Sandame grimace. Don't deny it, Sarutobi-sensei. The Kazekage didn't when voicing his displeasure to me on his reasons for joining my side. You helped make Konoha a big target. A fat pig that needed to be gutted, said Orochimaru as he saw the Sandaime scowl and then summon Enma the Monkey King before turning into a giant staff. As if you wouldn't in my place, said the Sandaime seeing Orochimaru smile at him. True. Still, I would have made sure such spiteful people in my alliances knew better than to cross me and have special measures be put in place in the event they did. Something you did not. How else can you explain being caught unaware of Suna's betrayal? Or the Kyuubi Jinchuriki here not afraid to kill us both on this very roof? Said Orochimaru as he saw Naruto's smirk grow and the Sandaime scowl. Naruto wouldn't do that. I'm a grandfather to him. I always was. Said the Sandaime, while Naruto scoffed. The grandfather doesn't keep secrets, old man. You kept quite a few of them despite what my mother wanted. My godparents were denied the knowledge of my existence while at the same time, my status as a Jinchuriki was made known to the public and I became the most hated person in the village. Why as my so-called grandfather would you do that? Said Naruto before turning fully to face the old cage. Naruto, you must understand that not everything is that simple and we must do what is right even if those that the decision wrongs are severely hurt by it, said the Sandaime, while the boy just looked at him with those eyes that held no warmth in them. There is nothing right about what you did, old man. All your actions caused was allow the village to channel all their hate and pain at one person. Me. You could have kept this information from the people and I could have lived a life without their hatred aimed at me, said Naruto seeing the Sandaime scowl further at him. It had to be done, Naruto. The people could not have their hatred consume them from within. They needed an outlet. Said the Sandaime before seeing the boy looking angry at his choice of words. So that's it. That's your reason. You did it for them. The fools here in the village may regard you as something great, but we both know that was a long time ago and that you are nothing more than a spineless old fool. Said Naruto before a sword pierced his back, looked down to see it was the Kusanagi with Orochimaru's hands on the hilt. You should know better than to take your eyes off a snake, little boy. Said Orochimaru with Naruto turning his head slightly and looked at him. Shatter. Kimka Sujetsu. Said Naruto with his form shattering into 100-piece like glass and his Zanpakuto sticking out behind Orochimaru through his skull. Orochimaru-sama. Said the four bodyguards at the same time in shock. When killing a snake, one should always stab the head and kill the brain altogether. I find that is a much safer way of doing things, said Naruto before pulling the blade of his weapon out and the form of Orochimaru fell to the ground. Dead. Run. Said the red-haired girl as the barrier went down and the Sound Four took off before they could be pursued by the Anbu. And now to deal with you, old man, said Naruto coldly while turning around to face the Sandaime, but was now surrounded by Anbu and their weapons were drawn. Demon traitor. Said the Anbu captain with a bird mask on. Says one of the shinobi who won't honor the Yondaime's dying wish and treat me like a hero for holding the Kyuubi inside my body, said Naruto making the Anbu captain bristle with anger. How dare you mention the Yondaime Hokage? Said the Anbu captain who moved to take the boy down and the others following. No. Stop. Said the Sandaime, but they failed to listen and Naruto just smirked at them. Heido number 58. Tenrin. Said Naruto before spinning his extended right hand, unleashing a widening tornado that sent the Anbu flying, while the Sandaime struggled to keep his feet on the roof. Naruto, I'm sorry you hate me, but you must understand that everything I've ever done has been for the benefit of the village, and I took no pleasure in your suffering, said the Sandaime Hokage, seeing the boy frown. Bakudo number 63. Seijo Sabaku. Said Naruto making golden rope wrap around the Sandaime in an instant while Enma was let go in the process and the Monkey King transformed into his normal animal form. Release Sarutobi, you little brat. Said Enma only to be stabbed in the stomach by the Zanpakuto and was sent back injured to the summoning world. Now old man, you and I are going to talk, said Naruto before grabbing the old man by the throat and squeezed hard. Naruto. Release sensei right now, said Jiraiya as he wasn't sure what happened to the boy, but it was not something the Sannin liked and it was making him uneasy. Why? He deprived me of a life. Did you know the man lied to you and my godmother Tsunade? That the two of you were meant to raise me after the death of my parents? Said Naruto seeing Jiraiya not look the least bit surprised. I knew. It wasn't hard to figure out within a few months we had been lied to by sensei, said Jiraiya seeing Naruto's eyes narrow at him. And yet you didn't fight him over my situation. Why? Said Naruto seeing the Sannin look away. Because sensei was right in me not being able to take care of you. I had a spy network to run, maintain, and make sure the leaf was protected, said Jiraiya, seeing Naruto's grip on the old man not lessen in the slightest. And my godmother? Why not tell her about the lie? Said Naruto simply. What? Said Jiraiya before his face went pale when the boys and Pakuto stabbed the old cage in the stomach. This isn't a lethal strike, but it will be if he doesn't get medical treatment right away, and unless you give me an honest answer I'll stab him again for each lie you tell. Said Naruto coldly. Alright. Alright. I didn't tell Tsunade because sensei made me promise not to tell her. He said she'd take you out of the village and thus the plan to ensure your loyalty to the leaf would be ruined. That you would have more loyalty for her over the village because Tsunade would protect you from the village's hate. Said Jiraiya while Naruto glared at him and then the glare intensified when the boy looked at the Hokage. "Die old man. Hado number 4. By Akurai," said Naruto as he stabbed the man first, put his right finger on the Sandame's head and unleashed a stream of lightning through it to cause a painful death. "No!" yelled Jiraiya as he saw the old cage be released from the strange binding power Naruto used on him and fell onto the rooftop dead. "Time for me to go," said Naruto before he turned around to leave, but Jiraiya leaped in front of him and did not look pleased. "Don't move, Naruto. You are under arrest for the murder of the Sandame Hokage," said Jiraiya while Naruto just smirked at him. "My actions were justified. I killed a traitor to my family. A family you also betrayed as well," said Naruto seeing Jiraiya flinch at his words. "I am sorry for that, Naruto, but it doesn't excuse you from killing the Sandame Hokage," said Jiraiya while Naruto smirked at him. "And that is where our beliefs are different from one another, Iro-senin," said Naruto before he was gone in a flash and Jiraiya cursed under his breath. He failed to see two people smirking from their respective locations and vanishing from sight to meet up with the boy. Outside the village. "Is it time, Naruto-sama?" said a feminine voice from a shadowy figure wearing a hunter nin mask. "Yes, Haku. Stage 1 is complete. Where are Anko and Hinata?" said Naruto before turning his head and saw the girls appear quickly a few feet from his right. "We are here, Naruto-sama," said Hinata as she had also thrown away her own illusion that Naruto had helped cast over the village in seeing her being this weak shy girl who lost an EG badly in the Chunin exams and had required a month to remotely recover from the damage her heart had sustained in the process. Naruto had approached her 2 years ago, appearing in an instant-like manner, which had scared the girl and had to put a hand on her mouth to stop any kind of scream. She had been shy then, as the illusion past that time had made her out to be, but after Naruto had offered to train the Hyuga girl to get stronger, Hinata couldn't refuse, and during those 2 long years her loyalty shifted greatly from Konoha, along with the Hyuga clan to Naruto within question. The form Neji had fought in the Chunin exam prelims was a shadow clone of Hinata, which Naruto cast an illusion using the power of his Zanpakuto so it would fool everyone and thus began the Hyuga girl's secret training. While everyone in her clan demeaned the shadow clone, fooled by the power of Naruto's Zanpakuto, the real Hyuga Hinata was getting stronger and learning to fighting with a gentle fist while using her flexibility to its fullest potential. "How is Abusa handling things in Whirlpool?" said Naruto when he turned to look at Haku. "He hates the paperwork," said Haku with a smile appearing on her lips behind the mask. "Of course he does," said Naruto with a smirk on his face. In the past 2 years, Naruto had been out of the village, gathering forces of his own in secret and having them converge to Whirlpool. A place where the clans from Mist, who had escaped the purges, had fled to that location for safety, even encountering Zabuza and Haku during the recruiting process. When the two met Team 7 a few years later, on the incomplete bridge in Wave, the Konoha shinobi believed that Zabuza and Haku had been slain there. When everyone left after the burial, Naruto dispelled the illusion and just smirked in amusement at the stupidity of his so-called team. "Good. We can finally leave here. We have business to attend to and sound. Knowing Orochimaru, he will have a nice little treasure trove of people and things we can take back to Whirlpool," said Naruto smiling at them before they were gone in an instant. "It will be interesting to see what the snake team has back home has stored there. Though we may want to hurry since my old sensei's butt buddy is most likely heading back there too," said Anko, as she had joined the Gaki around the same time Hinata did, but under different circumstances and reasons than the Hyuga girl. Naruto had found Anko being held down by a group of jounin who had felt the only way she could repent for her sensei's betrayal in their eyes was through her body and being their personal toy for the day. Anko didn't want to, but the jounin around her had already told the woman she didn't have a choice and that the Hokage wasn't going to save her anymore. The leader of the group was so into his rant, he had no idea that while getting ready to take the woman against her will, Naruto had used the power of Kimka Sujetsu and fooled him into thinking she was helpless. When the leader had his pants around his ankles, it was then that Naruto struck and dispelled the illusion of his side in control. In reality, the group of jounin around Anko had been slain brutally all around her and the woman herself was free with a kunai in hand with a smirk on her face. The man soon had the world's most painful and cheapest way to have a sex change before being turned into a corpse, with Anko being a key spy for Naruto regarding certain parts of the leaf's inner workings. Now with Orochimaru dead, the woman had no further need to stay in the village and was going along with Naruto to Whirlpool like he promised. Oh, by the way, Anko, I took this from Orochimaru since he won't be needing it and felt it should go to you, said Naruto as he threw Kusanagi underhanded to Anko and saw the woman catch it while examining the weapon. But a sword like this, a new name is warranted and I think I know just the name, said Anko seeing Naruto raise an eyebrow at her. What's the name? Said Naruto seeing Anko smirk at him and then at the weapon. I'll call this sword Shinzum. Said Anko while Naruto nodded and the group quickly left the area. 4 years ago. 8-year-old Naruto found himself in a dark place that was dank, wet, full of pipes, and basically looked like a sewer. It didn't make sense to Naruto, as one moment he was in the Hokage's office and the next he was here in this crappy place. Welcome kid. You're here sooner than expected, said the demonic voice of the Kyuubi behind the cage that represented the Yondame's seal. Kyuubi? Said Naruto seeing the fox grin and nod. You're actually smart. Ha. Those fools think you are an idiot but I know better and have cast an illusion over them. Then again, it was only fair considering the one they tried to cast on you from the start and be their little puppet, said Kyuubi seeing Naruto scowl at the remembrance of the letter he found. Why am I here? I remember touching the sword on the desk and now I'm here talking to you, said Naruto seeing the fox grin further. Indeed. Well, I wish to take credit for this, the real sneak is the being over there and he has quite a story to tell, said Kyuubi seeing the shadowy figure to Naruto's left. Greetings young one. We have much to discuss you and I, said a voice of the figure, which was sounded clear like water and smoother than the finest silk. Thus began the beginning of Naruto's training under Kimka Sujetsu. The Zanpakuto was ruthless when he trained the boy once they managed to fool the Hokage upon the third Hokage's return, as the old cage had returned to find the boy unconscious in his office, holding a strange sword in hand from the scroll of sealing, but the boy awakened before removing it from Naruto's hands. And cast the illusion over the man when the Uzumaki had shown off the Zanpakuto like Kimka Sujetsu had suggested he do in order to put a successful illusion over the old man. When they trained in secret, the Zanpakuto had taught Naruto in his head first before Blonde tested his powers out in the real world and even an illusionary copy of Aizen himself was used. Naruto had slowly cast the illusion Kimka Sujetsu he wished to fool others with one day at a time and it wasn't easy either since the village had so many people. He had to alternate between casting it on groups one day to individual people unsuspecting of what he had planned. Present day. The sudden death of the Sandaime Hokage had sent the village into an uproar as it had been put on lockdown and sadly the clients along with the daimyos had to stay in the leaf until things could be figured out further. The fire daimyo had made Jiraiya of the Sannin temporary Hokage, who then called a meeting with the councils, the clan heads, and the fire daimyo himself attending. I'll get right to the point, the Sandaime Hokage has been killed and surprising the culprit in this act was not Orochimaru. It was Uzumaki Naruto, said Jiraiya before the room had exploded with shouting, arguing, and divided talk among them all on how to deal with the boy. That demon brat. Said one person. He should have been killed right after the sealing. Said another person sitting next to the other. Silence. Yelled Jiraiya as his voice ended the bickering and arguing over this. But Jiraiya-sama, the boy is dangerous and needs to be killed before he gets too far from Konoha, said Hamura as the temporary fifth Hokage shook his head and looked at the daimyo now. Daimyo-sama, it is my opinion that an Anbu team be sent out but not to find Naruto as he will surely slice them to pieces and weaken us even further, said Jiraiya seeing the feudal lord fanning himself and looking at him with interest. Then who are you searching for with the Anbu? Said the fire daimyo curiously. Senjutsunade. She's the only one worthy of sitting in this chair and acting as Hokage. It's in her blood, said Jiraiya with the fire daimyo considering it. True, but what will you do should that happen? Said the fire daimyo with Jiraiya's face becoming grim. I'm going to find, defeat, and if necessary kill Uzumaki Naruto, said Jiraiya seeing most of the people in the room looking happy with that news. If I may speak up about something and have the floor for the moment. Said Shibi as he raised a hand and the fire daimyo turned his attention to the Aburam. Yes Aburam-san. Said the fire daimyo focusing on the clan head. It has come to the attention of my son through one of his bugs that his teammate Hyuga Hinata is missing, said Shibi with Hiashi go pale. How do you know this? Said Hiashi seeing the Aburam clan head to look over at him for a second. My son told me using one of his insects. From what the insect has informed me, Hinata's form simply shattered like glass and went up in smoke, said Aburam, seeing Hiashi's eyes widen in surprise. It's a shadow clone. Somewhere along the line, Naruto must have taught it to Hinata and this means she has joined him too, said Jiraiya seeing Hiashi was in denial. No. She wouldn't. Her loyalty is to Konoha and the Hyuga clan, said Hiashi as his heart was gripped with fear and knew the clan would too with their bloodline out there in the elemental countries with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. No disrespect Hiashi, but the girl can't get enough of the Uzumaki pup, and if they have been interacting with each other in a way we couldn't have seen for Kami knows how long, well it's pretty clear that the girl is not the weak shy thing I've seen around town, said Tsun with Hiashi gritting his teeth. We need to do a head count of all Leaf Shinobi in the village to see if anyone else is missing. We'll begin with the Anbu and work our way down to the Genin along with their senseis, said Jiraiya, knowing a head count would be needed of all shinobi forces. Once enough Anbu have been recruited, we'll dispatch a team to find Tsunade and convince her to become the new Hokage, said Homura, seeing everyone nod in full agreement with that. Very well, I approve of each objective, except for one thing, and that is killing Uzumaki Naruto, should he be defeated. I want him brought back here alive, and I wish to talk to him in person, said the fire daimyo, which shocked the people in the room, and the fact the feudal lord would make such a request. But why daimyo-sama? Said Kaharu, as she saw the man scoff and stand up before heading to the door. Do you think I am unaware of what is going on in this village? I have spies too. Well, the shinobi here in this village serve the one sitting the Hokage's chair with the title, they also serve me, and I have heard quite enough from them along with you to know this boy deserves far more in life than was given. I heard the stories behind the abuse Jinchuriki take for being made into weapons and treated like they are trash, while expected to be loyal no matter what. I thought they were just stories my father told me to ensure that I didn't become like people here in this village, but now I realize my father's stories were not stories at all and was a fool to trust the late Sandaime Hokage with the boy's life. I want to hear from the boy's own lips about his life here in Konoha and why he killed the Sandaime Hokage, said the fire daimyo with the councils protesting and begging him to reconsider such a decision before the feudal lord left the room ignoring them. Rice country. So this is sound, huh? It doesn't look like much, said Anko while seeing what seemed to be a small village. Looks can be deceiving, Anko. Hinata, would you use your wonderful eyes please, said Naruto making the girl blush slightly, but she quickly regained focus and used her eyes to look at the ground below. There is an underground complex beneath us filled with sound shinobi, said Hinata, as she saw the various chakra signatures below them, some being higher than others and none of them seemed to be on high alert yet. Meaning Kabuto and the Sound Four had yet to return. And that is where we go. Stay sharp, said Naruto, as they walked into the village, and the boy thought back to the night Mizuki had tricked him into stealing the Forbidden Scroll a few short months ago. Flashback. Mizuki saw Iruka pinned to a tree, Naruto on the ground, holding the Forbidden Scroll of Sealing, a look of horror and fear etched upon his whiskered face. The blonde's mind unable to comprehend why Mizuki did what he did to Iruka, and yet the man did not care with every intention of making matters worse for the young Uzumaki. Don't you get it? You are the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Said Mizuki with glee in his voice and on his face at revealing the secret of behind Naruto's abuse. Run Naruto. Said Iruka while Mizuki just laughed. Yes. Run Naruto. Run away with the scroll and give the people in Konoha an excuse to hunt you down, said Mizuki with cruel laughter following. Before Naruto's face went from being terrified to that of a confident smirking individual in control of this problematic situation. Shatter. Kimka Sujetsu. Said Naruto before his form shattered into glass. Iruka was revealed to be on the ground unconscious, but alive with injuries all the same, and the real Naruto standing right behind Mizuki. What the said Mizuki before Naruto sliced his head off. What a foolish little man you were, said Naruto simply before sensing Leaf Shinobi heading his way and left a shadow clone to put on the illusion of him being an idiot. Then flashback. Kabuto frowned as he entered Sound Village with the Sound Four behind him and found their instincts screaming at them to leave. The village below looked completely normal, showing no signs of being visited by anyone, and that is why this made them worry. The Jounin level subordinate of the later Orochimaru could feel his instincts telling him the enemy was in fact here, but had gotten in undetected and had yet to reveal themselves to him. Of course, Kabuto could send in the Sound Four and played off that he had business elsewhere above ground. Then again, any such command would raise red flags in each of their minds, since neither of the four were stupid and most likely suspect he was ordering them to their doom. That wouldn't sit very well. I don't like this, said Kidomaru feeling his gut telling him something was off. I know what you mean. Ever since seeing that kid do whatever it is he did, I've been feeling hesitant and afraid that my next step will be my last, said Jirobo, as he had seen what that kid did and it scared the hell out of him. What the fuck do you think we should do, huh? Sit around a campfire telling stories? Let's get the hell out of here before the shit hits the fan. Said Taiya, as she saw the others in agreement, but Kabuto was not, and his look at the four clearly stated it as such. I'm in charge here, Taiya-san. If you don't go down there, said Kabuto, as he let the threat of disobeying him linger in the air, and the Sound Four looked at each other. Now Kabuto-san, there is no need to threaten them. After all, they have every right to be terrified of their enemy, said Anko, as she appeared from the shadows, and a sickly sweet smile was now on her face. You. I didn't expect to see you here, Anko-san. Judging from your choice of words, if you are here, then the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is not that far behind too, and in the base below. Isn't he? Said Kabuto angrily, as he saw the woman looking at him with that deceptive smile on her face. Oh, Naruto-sama's around. He's actually been expecting you five for a while now. A bit sooner than expected, but that's no skin off his back, or mine for that matter, said Anko, as she saw them tense and look around for Naruto. If Naruto's expecting us, then where exactly is he? Said Kabuto, seeing Anko's smile widen slightly. As I said, he's around, said Anko while smirking at him. He's here. Hiding in the shadows, said Kidomaru, as he looked around for Naruto and anyone else that may have joined up with him. Now you're guessing. I thought my old sensei taught you better than that, said Anko, as her grin stayed positively evil looking and making the sound 4 very nervous. Is it possible to switch sides and join the Jinchuriki? Said Jirobo, who got a glare aimed at him by Kabuto and knew the only reason the medic nin didn't kill him now was due to the enemy in front. Maybe. It all depends on what you bring to the table, said Anko, while Kabuto focused his gaze on her once more. Our skills and loyalty, said Jirobo before being slugged by Seiken. Shut your mouth. I'm not swearing loyalty to that kid, said Seiken before turning to his face to see Anko's grin increase before pulling out her sword that Naruto had given her. Shoot to kill. Shinzum, said Anko as she thrust the weapon forward and surprised the 5 shinobi when the blade's length extended before piercing the Seiken's body with the tip of the sword, splitting the tree behind the sound shinobi on impact. Seiken. You can, said Kidomaru as the blade went through one brother and in the process killed the other brother hidden behind him. Oops. I didn't know there was 2 of them connected to one body. Oh dear, said Anko as she retracted the length of her blade and yet the woman's smile never left. You bitch, said Kabuto while the sound of someone chuckling in amusement was heard to his left. It's almost amusing, isn't it, Anko-san? Kabuto actually sounding like he cares about them when we both know our enemy was going to send them all down below to be slaughtered while escaping, said Naruto, who saw the remaining members of the Sound 4 glaring at Kabuto and the man glaring at him. I'm going to enjoy killing and studying your corpse, boy, said Kabuto as he prepared to move against the Kyuubi Jinchuriki using his chakra scalpels and Naruto just smirked at him. Unlikely. Bakudo number 4. Hinawa, said Naruto as he launched an energy-like rope from his hand and it wrapped around Kabuto's body. Don't just stand there. Kill him, said Kabuto as he saw Naruto focus on the now Sound 3 and waited for them to attack. They did nothing. Choose right now. Kabuto or myself. Be mindful that in the next few seconds he will be dead, said Naruto, while the 3 looked from him to Kabuto and moved away from the latter. Traitors. You will pay for this outrage, said Kabuto before his head was quickly sliced off with Naruto's Zanpakuto. Hardly. Since you 3 are now on my side, I hope my belief that your loyalty to me is unquestionable hasn't been misplaced and plans to do otherwise are being formed when I'm not around, said Naruto, seeing the 3 shake their heads. I have the person we need, Naruto-sama, said Hinata as she appeared with the sealing scroll in hand and Naruto smiled at her. Excellent. Let's go then, said Naruto walking away with everyone following his lead. Where the fuck are we going? Said Taiya, though her voice was much softer than the usual harsh tone she had when speaking despite the swearing. To find my long-lost godmother Senju Tsunade. I have patience that requires her utmost attention, said Naruto, seeing the shock on them with the exception of Hinata. I didn't know your godmother is Senju Tsunade, said Anko walking beside him. Neither does Tsunade, said Naruto with his smile never leaving. Making a hand sign, Hinata activated the explosive tags placed in the underground base that was Sound and blew it to pieces. No one looked back. Konoha weeks later. I have a lead on Naruto, said Jiraiya, seeing Kakashi at the bar with Kurenai, Asuma and Guy talking about what had happened at the Chunin exam finals. Really? Where? Said Kurenai as she found her student missing and feared for Hinata's safety when near the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. He's still in Fire Country, but at the same time the group traveling with him is also near where my spies are tracking Tsunade and I suspect Naruto's heading out to meet her, said Jiraiya, while the other grimaced at that news. Why? Said Kurenai curiously. Because Tsunade is his godmother. The Sandaime lied to her the night Kyuubi attacked and told Tsunade that Naruto died the night of the sealing. It was done so she wouldn't take Naruto out of the village and keep the boy here, said Jiraiya, seeing them looking at him with shocked faces. Naruto's not going to kill Tsunade-sama, is he? Said Guy with worry. No. He knows she didn't know about him and was lied to by the Sandaime. If anything, Naruto will try to recruit Tsunade to his side before we can get her back to Konoha and become the new Hokage, said Jiraiya, seeing the group looking worried about that. When do we move out? Said Kakashi, seeing Jiraiya shake his head. I can't let you, Kakashi. I need you here to train the Uchiha and figure out some way to counter the abilities we know Naruto possesses, said Jiraiya, as he had seen some of the strange powers Naruto used against Neji, Gaara, and the Sandaime Hokage. What about us? I want to get Hinata and Anko back, said Kurenai, knowing her student and dear friend just had to be suffering while under Naruto's control. Your team, and Guy's team will be assisting me on this mission. I need tracking and combat group to help with this mission, said Jiraiya, seeing the two nod. What about me and my team? Said Asuma, with Jiraiya shaking his head no. No offense Asuma, but your team is weak and needs more training before I even think to consider them to track down Naruto, said Jiraiya, seeing Asuma slump his head in defeat. At least take Shikamaru with you. He can analyze Naruto's actions and strategize on how to defeat him, said Asuma, seeing Jiraiya consider it. Okay. Everyone is to meet me at the North Gate in an hour, said Jiraiya, seeing them nod and head out before doing the same. But Naruto. So why do you need to see Senju Tsunade? I mean, aside from telling her that she's your godmother, said Kidomaru curiously. Like I mentioned earlier, there are 2 patients in my possession who require medical treatment and only someone of Tsunade's skills can save them both, said Naruto, seeing the city in front of them. Who are they? Said Jirobo, with his own curiosity now showing. The Gaia Kimimaro and Tsuchi-kin, said Naruto, much to the shock of the group. Kimimaro? But his illness is incurable, said Kidomaru, while Taiya was shocked over the latter of the 2 names Naruto mentioned. Kin? But she was used as a sacrifice. We fucking saw her, said Taiya, as she had been against it, but Orochimaru's command was law and had not choice except seeing it happen. And yet the forbidden jutsu Orochimaru used was a failure. Even Kin herself believes I killed her when in fact, my skills with a blade put Kin close to it and only Tsunade's can't save the girl now, said Naruto, as the group entered the city where Tsunade was rumored to be in the area and went to the nearest area with a bar. Do you know what Tsunade looks like? Said Kidomaru while looking around and using one of his 4 hands to scratch his head. Baka. Orochimaru fucking talked about her and the bitch's appearance. Should we have to find her? Just look for some old blonde hag with big tits and likes to drink when she's not gambling money away, said Taiya, which got her an empty sake bottle to the face by an angry patron. Who are you calling an old blonde hag, you red-haired slut? Said a blonde busty woman about 5 rows in front of them with a look of being slightly inebriated. Who are you calling a red-haired slut, you fucking dried up cunt? Said Taiya, angrily fired back while ignoring the shards of the sake bottle on her face. Come here and try saying that to my face, said the woman while pounding her fist on the table and the woman next to her trying to calm the blonde down. I would, but you'd probably be dead from old age by the time I got there, said Taiya, seeing the woman get even redder in the face. What did you say? Said the woman while Taiya looked just as angry. Enough. I did not travel all this way just for you 2 to have a feminine pissing contest. I came here to speak to Tsunade in a civilized manner. You're making that very difficult, Taiya, said Naruto in a serious voice, which made the red-haired girl go pale and take a step back in fear of being killed by him. That's her. Doesn't look like much, whispered Jirobo to Kidomaru, who elbowed him and told the fat man to shut up. Orochimaru was always cautious of Tsunade and the risk of facing her wrath. There is a reason for that, said Anko, as she remembered that much of her late sensei and made the former bodyguards of Orochimaru nod realize appearance could be deceiving. So what do you need to see me for, brat? Said Tsunade as she sat back down, glared at the red-haired girl, who Naruto motioned to sit elsewhere with the others and waited for the blonde Uzumaki to sit down across from the busty Sannin. I require your medical skills to heal 2 people. Well, heal one of her injuries and cure another of his illness, said Naruto, seeing Tsunade raise an eyebrow at him. I'm off the clock and a bit drunk at the moment. Come back tomorrow, said Tsunade as she moved to drink another cup of sake, but Naruto quickly took it out of her hands and crushed it. I'm not giving you a choice. The injury the girl has suffered is quite lethal if left alone, and to ignore it would violate a certain oath you took in being a doctor, said Naruto, while the woman glared at him for doing that. I do have a choice actually. Shizune can heal the girl. She's my student and has the skills to heal your friend, said Tsunade, while Naruto scowled at her. No. I want you to do it. I know you have the medical skills to purge alcohol from your system. Do not presume I am some naive fool who will simply bow to your whims on when and when not to bring a patient in need of medical attention to your doorstep, said Naruto, while Tsunade narrowed her eyes at him. And how would you even know anything about me, brat? I've had stalkers in the past, but none of them were your age, and it's a bit creepy, said Tsunade while Naruto smirked and Hinata next to him scowled. Don't flatter yourself, Tsunade. You're not my type. Besides, I have no intention of being involved with my godmother anytime soon, and like you just said, it's a bit creepy, said Naruto, seeing Tsunade look shocked. Godmother? To you? Since when? said Tsunade while recalling being the godmother to one person, but was told by the Sandaime the child died during the sealing, and yet a part of her always questioned that given just whom the mother was of that child. Since the day Kyuubi attacked Konoha all those years. Since the day my mother brought me into this world and sealed the fox into me. Ring any bells now? Said Naruto, seeing the woman frown and quickly reach over and grab him by the throat before pulling him close to look the boy dead in the eyes. Hyuga Hinata was on her feet in an instant, the girl's own sword pointed at the Sanin's throat and Byakugan eyes active with the intent of striking the woman down should she hurt Naruto. However, the smirking blonde simply raised a finger which slowly touched Hyuga's weapon and gently moved it away from Tsunade's jugular. My godson is dead. Said Tsunade while not taking her eyes off of Naruto. According to whom? Said Naruto, seeing the woman narrow her eyes at him. My sensei. The Sandaime Hokage of the Leaf Village, said Tsunade, seeing the blonde-haired boy smirk at her. Correction. The late Sandaime Hokage of the Leaf Village, said Naruto, seeing her eyes widen in shock and then narrow in suspicion. You're lying. Said Tsunade, seeing Naruto's face never waver under her gaze. I killed him myself just like I did Orochimaru, said Naruto, seeing the woman's eyes show a mixture of shock and anger. I'm going to kick your ass, said Tsunade in a whispery voice while Naruto just smirked further. Before you continue that line of thought in hurting me, there is a story you need to hear and it is connection to your precious Sandaime Hokage, said Tsunade, seeing the woman narrow her eyes at him. You have exactly 5 minutes and if I don't like what I hear your ass belongs to me, said Tsunade before letting go of him and sitting back down. After what I have to tell you about the Sandaime I highly doubt it, said Naruto before the two began talking and Hinata sat back down, though she not going to let Tsunade hurt him. A few weeks later. How long before both Kin and Kamimuro are well enough to travel with me? As you can imagine, I am quite the marked man in Konoha right now after what I did there during the Chunin exam finals, said Naruto, walking with Tsunade through the street to a bar since Shizune was watching over the patients. A few more days. You know, Kamimuro wasn't exactly pleased to know the team he had for a master was dead, right? Said Tsunade, seeing him nod. Of course. He tried to kill me then and there despite being sedated. Kin was completely afraid of you, said Tsunade, seeing the boy's face never stop having that smirk on his face. Considering what I did, her reaction is not without merit and Taiya was most helpful in calming Kin down, said Naruto, knowing the two were close and it was only because Kin trusted Taiya that the girl didn't flee. But she was. The girl reminds me of your mother when she was a little girl except for the swearing, said Tsunade with Naruto smirking further at hearing that piece of info. I'll have to ask her about my mother and what she was like later in the future, thought Naruto as Tsunade walked away from him to go into the bar to drink, and while the boy was an adult for being a shinobi, it was not his style. He personally preferred tea. Naruto. Said Jiraiya as he appeared in the middle of the street and glaring at the blonde before him. Ah. My godfather. How nice of you to come see me here, said Naruto with a smile on his face that told otherwise. Cut the crap, Naruto. I know you've been looking for Tsunade. You've almost found my old teammate if not already, and I can't let you poison her mind with lies, said Jiraiya as Naruto drew his Zanpakuto, but Guy along with Kurenai appeared in a flash with their hands on his sword arm and kunai at his throat. Where is Hinata and Anko? Said Kurenai in a deadly whispered tone. Why? You never cared about them. All you saw with Hinata was a shy and timid girl from an abusive family that brought out maternal instincts. Not once did you try to bring out the strong powerful Hinata that I know. As for Anko, you knew how she was treated by the villagers and not once did you stick up for her when the woman wasn't around. I am surprised Guy is here. Come to avenge your student's defeat by my hands during the Chunin exam finals. Said Naruto, seeing Guy shake his head while Kurenai looked livid. No. I need to ask Tsunade-sama to come back to the Leaf to become its Hokage and to heal my student Lee of his injuries, said Guy with Naruto smirking further. Really? Well, I'm sure she has no problem healing of your student. I highly doubt my godmother will want to be Hokage, and even less since she now knows the truth hidden from her by the Sandaime, said Naruto, while Jiraiya scowled. So you've been in contact with her, said Jiraiya fearfully. Yes. I have. At first, she was angry that I killed the Sandaime, being her sensei, and all that emotional garbage. But that changed when I told her what he did and how the man allowed my abusers to get away with their crimes with minimal punishment, said Naruto, seeing Jiraiya scowl at him. It had to be done, Naruto, said Jiraiya, seeing the boy just looking him dead in the eyes with that predator smirk on his face. Says a man who was never attacked by a mob that tried to cut you up with broken sake bottles and try to rip your guts out while laughing. Of course, it was a shadow clone they tried it on, but the memories from it are still there and I know the faces that did it too, said Naruto as he saw Jiraiya grimace and Guy flinch since he was the one to stop that particular attack. I'm sorry that happened, Naruto, but you needed to be humble and feel grateful for being alive every single day, said Jiraiya, seeing Naruto raise an eyebrow at him. By putting me through hell. Why not let me live a normal childhood without the need for all the animosity? Why not keep it hidden from the village and let me enjoy life there without the necessary fear of being killed at any moment for something that I had no say in? Said Naruto, seeing Jiraiya not answer him right away. It's the way things were done in the past with Jinchuriki, said Jiraiya finally, while a scowl now formed on Naruto's face. Not with my mother it didn't. Nor with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki before her, from what I learned when I read the journal she left behind, said Naruto as he saw Jiraiya's eyes widen in surprise, and so did the others. Kushina's journal? How did you get that? Said Jiraiya, seeing the smirk on Naruto's face return. Oh, I imagine you were looking for it along with everyone do so too. No doubt looking for a way to better understand seals to make yourself better at using them. You are just like the Uchiha and their damn Sharingan. Always taking what doesn't belong to you and robbing others of them. Such a pathetic man you are in my eyes, said Naruto, seeing the Sannin scowl in anger. I needed to know Kushina's way of sealing because it could have helped with your seal and keep the Kyuubi contained better, said Jiraiya, while Naruto scoffed. I hate being around liars, said Naruto, while Jiraiya scowled further at him. Regardless, we are taking you back to Konoha to face the charges of killing its Hokage and betraying the leaf, said Jiraiya, before hearing Naruto chuckle with amusement. As if you have the power, stop me, said Naruto, with Jiraiya pulling out of various strips of papers with seals on them. I don't know if you're using Kyuubi's powers or not. Personally, I'd rather not take the chance and have to take certain steps in changing your mind. With the fox's power temporarily suppressed, Inoichi can dive into your head and turn you into a blank slate, said Jiraiya, seeing Naruto looking amused. And my godmother? How are you going to explain it to her? If she becomes Hokage, then I will be under her direct command, and I know the woman won't let you do every little thing planned in that head of yours, said Naruto, seeing Jiraiya shrug. I'll deal with her when the time comes, said Jiraiya, as he was about to put the seals on Naruto, but was struck on the side of his face by a punch from Tsunade herself, and boy did the woman look pissed off. How about you deal with me now, you backstabbing pervert? Said Tsunade before she glared at the two jounin on each side of Naruto. If you want to live, I would suggest letting go of me and taking a few steps back, said Naruto, with the two jounin doing just that. Now my old teammate, care to explain why you helped keep the lie our sensei told me about my godson being dead from being exposed and protect him from harm? Said Tsunade as she was slowly stomping her way over to the downed Sannin, and he slowly got up from the ground before finding his face inches from hers. It was for the good of the village, Tsunade. You think Naruto's the only Jinchuriki who has suffered at the hands of their village and put up with it? Soon as done it, I was done it with there too, and even Taki with the Biju they got as a gift from your own grandfather when they created their own Jinchuriki, said Jiraiya before he was pulled an inch closer to Tsunade's already seething face. And what about Kushina? My grandmother? They weren't treated like that or turned into mindless weapons. Naruto could have been treated the same way and I could have been there to ensure that, said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya shake his head no. It wasn't your call. It was the Hokage's, and he felt the best way to handle it was for you to be out of the picture. We both knew you'd take off with Naruto at the first sign of him being abused or the memories of the village becoming too powerful to handle. Like it or not, Tsunade, the village's survival comes first over what you, Naruto, and even what Minato wanted before his death, said Jiraiya, seeing the woman's eyes flash with anger on a level he couldn't even fathom. Oh my. Such a pathetic way of thinking. What is it about men in power seeking to make others suffer in order to gain more of it? Said Anko, as she along with Hinata were now heading their way while being several feet behind Naruto. It's pathetic really. Even more with their subordinates not thinking for themselves when they know such a way of thinking is wrong, said Hinata coldly while she stared at her shocked sensei. Anko? Hinata? Said Kurenai while looking at Hinata's attire and just couldn't believe this was the same shy student who fainted within 10 feet of Naruto. You seem surprised, Kuro-chan. Though given how we're serving Naruto loyally of our own free will has that effect on people these days, said Anko as she continued to smile at the shocked leaf shinobi, and Hinata just scowled further. It's a trick. It has to be some kind of genjutsu, said Kurenai as she tried to break it but found that there wasn't one and realized that these two individuals close to her heart had in fact left Konoha of their own free will to follow Naruto. Sorry, Kuro-chan. What you see is what you get. I wanted to tell you, but Naruto felt your loyalties would lean more towards the Hokage and ruin things for all of us, said Anko as she had asked Naruto if Kurenai could be brought into the fold and the lost son of the Yondaime Hokage had told her no. The Sandaime Hokage trusted you, Anko. How could you betray him after he defended you from every naysayer for Naruto? Said Kurenai with her anger rising with each passing second. He didn't defend shit. That old fart just made himself out to be my defender just like he did Naruto-sama. Who do you think ordered those bastards to harass me in my earlier years being reintegrated back into the leaf? The Sandaime did. Said Anko with a scowl on her face. That can't be possible, said Kurenai, while Guy himself couldn't believe it. Oh, but it is Yuhi Kurenai. The Sandaime Hokage was guilty of many things, and those that he wasn't were allowed to happen in return for future favors when called upon, said Naruto seeing the leaf Kunoichi glare at him. The Sandaime Hokage was a great man, said Kurenai defiantly. At one point in his life perhaps the Sandaime was a great man. However, as he got older, the man became more of a politician and thus lacked the spine to do his job properly like my father did. The man I killed was the Sandaime Hokage. Kami of Shinobi, but rather a shadow of his former self, and I felt it was my duty to put that weak old man out of his misery, said Naruto, as he saw Kurenai looking at him with intense and anger before she moved to take his head off with the kunai in hand. Only for Hinata to get in her path, block the attacking arm of Kurenai, and had her sword out pointing at the woman's throat. Sting all enemies to death. Suzumebachi. Said Hinata, as her sword changed to that of a stinger-based weapon that was now attached to her right hand, and it was clear that this was unexpected. But the said Kurenai while Anko had moved quickly behind Guy and had her blade pointed at his back. Surprised. You didn't think the whole time Hinata spent secretly training with me was just to improve her to jutsu and confidence, did you? I helped turn Hinata's sword into his Anpakudo by channeling my power through her into the weapon to create an extension of herself, said Naruto seeing Kurenai looking stunned by this. And it goes perfectly well with her fighting style. A quick, ruthless, and deadly little thing all wrapped up in that hand of hers. Truly amazing, said Anko with Naruto still smirking at Kurenai. Yes. I did the same to your weapon I took off Orochimaru before handing it over to you Anko. Fair is fair after all, said Naruto with Kurenai going pale and now looking where Anko was with her sword, ready to pierce Guy at a moment's notice right through his spine. As much as this information is enlightening, we're getting off track and I still have to deal with this bastard I was once proud to call my teammate, said Tsunade seeing the man in front of her grimace. We need you Tsunade. Konoha needs you. Just think about it for a second. The moment you become Hokage, things can change, and I'm betting the Fire Daimyo will grant the Gaki a full pardon if we bring him back with the others, said Jiraiya, while Tsunade's eyes narrowed at him. Do you really think I am that stupid Jiraiya? That I'll just walk back into the village with my godson, his friends behind him, and expect there not to be any kind of surprise move made by the shinobi there? They all believe that the Sandaime Hokage was a saint who protected them from harm, but we both know that's not true and was turned into a martyr to rally behind to kill Naruto, said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya look away from her. Ignore him for now Tsunade. We have more important matters at the moment, said Naruto hearing Tsunade growl in frustration. You're so lucky that he's right about that Jiraiya. I don't care about being Hokage, and I certainly don't care about it shinobi anymore than they cared about my godson when he was growing up without me. You go back to those idiots in the village and tell them they can shove the offer up their ass. My loyalty is to what is left of my family. The family they betrayed, said Tsunade seeing the Sannin frown in confusion before his eyes went wide. You are part Uzumaki on your grandmother's side said Jiraiya seeing Tsunade smirk at him. Damn right I am. Naruto is possibly the last Uzumaki in the whole world. All I have left of my grandmother's side and I'll be damned if I let those assholes in the leaf rob me of what I have left for family, said Tsunade seeing Jiraiya look sad at her choice. Your Sannin traveling rights will be revoked Tsunade. You will be marked down as a missing nin like Orochimaru was, said Jiraiya, seeing the anger in Tsunade grow in her eyes. I know that Jiraiya and I say bring out every single hunter nin the leaf has. I won't hesitate to send them back to Konoha in pieces. Said Tsunade before she slugged him and sent Jiraiya out of the village with her super strength. Tell your individual genin and Shikamaru that if they try to interfere in your place, I will have to kill them, said Naruto, though his voice sounded sad for a brief moment. You wouldn't. Said Kurenai seeing Naruto's sad eyes become hardened and they looked right back at her. If push comes to shove. Said Naruto seeing the two jounin not wanting to have their genin cut down by him. There is no need to worry about them Naruto-sama. I knocked them all out before my arrival. They never saw me coming, said Hinata, as she had dispatched them with ease and found a great deal of pleasure in knocking down her surprised cousin. I would have helped too, but Hinata was just so fast and she beat them all down before I could draw my blade. Pity really. Shinzum really wanted to kill someone today, said Anko while letting out a giggle while that smile never left. Thank you Hinata. Same to you Anko. Let's get out of here. We have some preparations to make given this new development, said Naruto seeing them nod, and they all began to walk away with while leaving the two leaf jounin, too stunned to move. Not that far away. So that's the brat huh? Interesting. What do you say Itachi? Said Kisame as he saw the Uchiha, who had slain so many of his own kin, just watch Naruto with his eyes and it was clear that Itachi was not going to rush things. Be on your guard Kisame. Naruto is not alone like we had hoped, said Itachi as he saw his partner grin and readjust his sword. Yeah, but it sure make things interesting, and you know how I hate boring things, said Kisame, while Itachi made a small noise indicating he knew about the Sharkman's ways of doing things. Thus be mindful when facing him, Kisame. Naruto did kill Orochimaru and the Sandaime Hokage, if the rumors are in fact true, said Itachi, while Kisame's smile widened. I know. Though don't be surprised if I want to take off a limb here or there to get the job done, said Kisame while Itachi stayed silent. It doesn't matter. All that matters is justice be done and brought down upon the guilty of this world. The sooner the better, thought Itachi, as he had always been a man who felt that justice must be delivered upon the wicked and had followed that belief when killing members of his own clan that night several years ago. He didn't do it for Konoha, the Hokage, or even for himself, despite what he told Sasuke before putting his younger brother in that genjutsu. Itachi did it in the name of justice and smite those that would seek to evade it like his own clan did regarding Uzumaki Kushina. Itachi had learned from his own mother before her death at his hands that she, along with her bastard of a husband, had sold out Kushina's location to Madara in the hopes that after the smoke cleared from the chaos, the Uchiha clan would rise to take what they felt was their rightful place in being the rulers of the new Konoha. Justice demanded they pay for this treachery, yet Itachi knew he too would have to pay under his own principle and thus had planned to have Sasuke kill him so a new Uchiha clan would rise from the ashes. However, Konoha had seen fit to poison the fruits of his labors with no help from Orochimaru's curse seal for a time, and now Sasuke was even worse off with the village wishing to help spoil his little brother rotten. Unacceptable. Now Itachi found himself wondering what to do in salvaging his plan since the original was beyond repair and a new one was now required. The question now was how. Konoha 4 years ago. You know what needs to be done, Itachi, said the Sandaime Hokage as he handed the Uchiha his assignment and the young man nodded, knowing it was going to be one of the most difficult assignments of his shinobi career. And the stipulations I asked for will be honored, said Itachi seeing the Hokage nod. Yes. Sasuke will be allowed to live since he is an innocent child in the matter and so will the others that survive. No one will know of the Uchiha's plans to rebel coming to light, said the Hokage while Itachi nodded and left the office with Danzo entering moments later. This is a dangerous game, Hiruzen, said Danzo since he knew of the deal the Hokage made with Itachi. It has to be done, Danzo. Or do you want the Uchiha to cause open rebellion and make Konoha look weak in the process? Said the Hokage with Danzo scowling. His younger brother must be kept an eye on. We need to ensure the boy's loyalty after this happens is absolute, said Danzo with the Hokage nodded. And he will be kept an eye on by our shinobi. After the Uchiha clan has been liquidated down to smaller, more controlled numbers, we will issue a special protocol where they will be given special treatment and almost spoiled to the point that they could get in any other village. But they rely on the Leaf Village to give them what they want and in time they will do anything to keep their high status. If they decide to one day rise higher to the point where they can be our equals, then we will have to simply coincidentally stumble upon damaging evidence and make them fall from grace, said the Hokage with Danzo smirking at him. You assume your future successor will agree to this continued policy, said Danzo with Hiruzen smirking back. It's a secret requirement I'm initiating for all successors to the title of Hokage to accept, said the Hokage, since he was going to set certain requirements for his successor, aside from embracing the truth behind the Uchiha clan's fall and resurrection. And if they meet all your stipulations except this one? Said Danzo, knowing that was always a possibility. Then they simply get sent on a simple mission to clear their head on the matter, where by chance an accident happens and they die while taking the secrets they know to their grave, said the Sandaime seeing Danzo nodding, since that was the general way to get rid of a potential risk to village security in exposing secrets. If Itachi were to learn of this, he will believe we've perverted his sense of justice and may turn on us, said Danzo with Hiruzen frowning at him. He won't. Itachi loves his brother too much to risk anything happening to the boy, no matter what we do in keeping Sasuke here, said the Hokage, though Danzo wasn't so sure. And if by chance you're wrong? Said Danzo with the Sandaime scowling at him. Then we simply remove Itachi from play on the grounds that he faces justice for the slaying of his clan. I'll use his own principles against him, said the Sandaime Hokage, knowing Jiraiya will get in contact with Itachi afterwards and thus can keep a close eye on the Uchiha in case the man needed to be removed from play. Justice would compel Itachi to slay his clan and it would be justice that would make the Uchiha pay for his crime against them. If there was one thing Uchiha Itachi loved more than Paki, it was the concept of justice and how no one could run from it. When you committed a crime, justice would always find a way to reach out, grab you by the collar of your shirt and kick you in the ass if not somewhere else, considering justice was rumored to be blind. Such a principle had been around for quite a while, a philosophy Itachi had embraced when the Yondaime Hokage was in power and long after the man's death. It was what allowed him to endure all the hardships of being a shinobi, to advance himself from Genin to Chunin and Jounin all the way to Anbu such a young age. A prodigy the Uchiha clan people kept on repeating time and time again. Some said he would one day be Hokage. The Sandaime Hokage's new successor to fill the big shoes of the Yondaime and even keep the demon brat in line, should he get to bold. Not that Itachi believed Naruto to be a monster like they kept on saying, but something great and the potential to match. But what was true justice to Uchiha Itachi? For the Uchiha prodigy, it was definitely not being found in Konoha, and the Hokage was making sure it was being denied to Naruto. Itachi had seen more than his fair share of the abuse Naruto was going through, had to intervene himself, while keeping it hidden with the help of his Anbu mask, hiding his real identity from many of those that hated the boy. And that included many of the shinobi in Konoha too. Itachi had every intention of watching over the kid when time allowed when not on missions or training to get stronger under his own power. However, the Sandaime Hokage seemed to figure out the identity of the boy's secret guardian, and the Uchiha clan was getting a bit aggressive. Something Itachi knew the Sandaime Hokage had noticed along with the rest of Konoha's governing body and clan was making waves many felt weren't needed right now. It was around that time, the Sandaime Hokage with Danzo and the Shinobi Council had asked him to do something to put the situation to rest. The Hokage had apparently tried to be diplomatic about the situation, but the Uchiha clan was making demands, which the Sandaime wouldn't give, and thus was forcing his hand to do what many Kages in his position would call a necessary evil to ensure the village wasn't torn in half. Itachi had agreed since he had been at some of the meetings his father had with the clan and was not happy to hear what was spoken. So with great reluctance Itachi agreed to the mission presented before him. Wipe out most of the Uchiha clan. When the order came down, Itachi knew he had to be patient when the time came to do his duty to the village and knew that for his mission to be successful the majority of the clan had to be in the Uchiha district. It was then Madara came to see him, asking about his progress and the affairs of Konoha like he was expecting something to happen since their last meeting. Itachi knew he needed Madara's help. Without question the Uchiha knew it was the only way to ensure the mission went off without a snag. So Itachi had asked Madara for help and the man agreed without pause in his step like it was something he planned to do from the start regardless if Itachi did it himself. Soon, the time came for the night where slaying the Uchiha clan would happen, which was the final meeting his father wished to have before the intended coup and all of the Uchiha clan with the exception of Sasuke had been accounted for. Not that Sasuke would be harmed due to his innocent naive nature of what was going on with the clan itself, and Itachi believed his brother like the rest of the children would be spared so it could rise to heights once more. Sadly, Madara had put a stop to that while Itachi had dealt with the adults and thus had forced things to spiral out of control. Itachi's mother had tried to stop parent and child from fighting each other despite the fact she knew the clan was in the wrong. Still, she had followed her duties to being loyal to the man she married and kept her mouth shut instead of going to the Hokage from the start. It was wrong. Mikoto knew it was wrong to side with the clan, but what choice did she have in the matter? Even if she did go to the Hokage, the man was the reason behind the Uchiha wanting to do this in the first place, and his so-called negotiations had been fruitless at best if not insulting at the very worst. Not that it mattered at the time of the proclaimed massacre, as her own husband had been the one to end her life and thus made Itachi react by ending him with ruthless precision. By that point, Sasuke had shown up to see the massacre happen, seeking his parents for answers to this horror and found Itachi standing over their fallen bodies. Itachi did not really know why he warped Sasuke's mind with his Sharingan eyes, but deep down the man felt Sasuke's running away was like his father, who Itachi knew had done before in the past, rather than face a stronger enemy to defend the village, and for the older of the two, officially remaining, members of the Uchiha clan found it unacceptable. For Itachi, an Uchiha faces his enemy with honor, defends the Leaf Village no matter the rank, and regardless if there is a reward for the effort. Sasuke had done nothing of the sort. It was inexcusable. So for that reason alone, Itachi had warped his brother's mind with pain and suffering knowing when the time came the boy would seek him out. They would fight each other, but regardless of the outcome, the slayer of the Uchiha clan knew justice would be served with righteousness and given the nature of the crime that started it without mercy. Present time. That was then. This was now. Why do you think they are heading towards the ruins of Whirlpool Country, Itachi? Said Kisame with the Uchiha just looking at the sea while on the boat with his partner, well in pursuit of Uzumaki Naruto. I don't know. It doesn't matter. We will follow and capture him, said Itachi simply with a blue-skinned man grinning from ear to ear. Shame we have to considering he'd make a good addition to the group if the rumors of what he did are in fact true, said Kisame having heard the rumors from spies of Naruto being the one to kill the Sandaime Hokage, though Pain was skeptical. Indeed. Naruto finally unleashed justice upon Konoha and took out a key player in its corruption. Perhaps we should ask Pain to revive him after extracting Kyuubi from him, said Itachi with Kisame grinning. Yeah. Wouldn't that make Konoha look bad? 3 missing nin joined the Akatsuki with 1 leaving, and only then it was because you had to get violent with Orochimaru, said Kisame, while Itachi narrowed his eyes while staring at the sea. Orochimaru brought it upon himself, Kisame. He tried to take from me what should not be his to take simply to satisfy the desires in his heart, said Itachi, knowing justice had been trying to reach Orochimaru for quite a while, and Naruto had made it happen with the Sannin's death. Yeah. The guy freaked me out too. No sense of taste. And that tongue of his. Don't get me started on that, said Kisame while Itachi held back a smirk. I'll remember that when you upset me and I need to make my point get across with you using the power of my eyes, said Itachi, while Kisame's face went pale knowing what he meant by that. With Naruto. Naruto arrived with his group of now missing nin in Whirlpool without further delay after the altercation with the Leaf Shinobi once leaving Fire Country, as they stopped by Wave Country to acquire a boat to take them there and looked far from destroyed like people spoke to the contrary. On the outside, from the sea itself, Whirlpool did look like it was ruined, but once they docked the ship, the illusion was shattered and the sight of a growing country could be seen before them. Tsunade felt something in her blood stir at seeing Whirlpool like this, as she too had Uzumaki blood running through her veins, and it seemed to awaken just from the sight alone. The last time Tsunade felt like this, she still had a connection to Konoha, and the people she loved were still alive. Kushina. Grandmother. Is this what you felt for your home when living here? Thought Tsunade while seeing its people, both shinobi and civilians thriving here like nothing had happened years ago. We have been slowly swelling the ranks of the populace for the past 3 to 4 years, give or take a few months. Some shinobi are survivors of the bloodline civil war who needed refuge or missing nin that left their village for the less than honorable decisions made. As for the civilians, well, they felt their own countries were less than hospitable to them given the times and wished to seek a place where their skills could be placed elsewhere, said Naruto while passing shops, stores and various other goods selling wares. Why would they feel unwelcome in their own country? Said Shizune while seeing some of the more exotic goods. I don't know why. The various daimyos have all been less than nice to the less fortunate members of society, while the politicians and the rich bleed such people dry. I found them on my travels and offered them a place here in Whirlpool, said Naruto simply before he stopped and frowned slightly. Something wrong? Said Tsunade seeing him look in the direction behind them. No. It's just something I have to take care of sooner than later. Haku. Would you be so kind as to show our new guests to the Uzukage and help get things situated, said Naruto with Haku bowing before escorting the others to Zabuza, while the Uzumaki himself went in a different direction. Not that far away, 2 figures looked at each other for a moment, then at their target and proceeded to follow him with a sense of caution in their step. Training ground number 2. Uzumaki Naruto, said the shorter of the 2 figures while the blonde just looked at them with a grin on his face. How have you been, Itachi-san? The life of a missing nin treating you well the past 4 years? Said Naruto with Itachi nodding, though he felt the life was draining at times. I manage. Though considering your current actions in slaying the Sandaime, you are not exactly welcome in Konoha either and are now a marked man, said Itachi with Kisame grinning further. Considering how he betrayed my trust, he deserved his death and you of all people are in no position to complain. He and the councils did pervert your vision of how things were supposed to happen after you killed your clan, said Naruto seeing Itachi nod, since that was true, though how the blonde knew that truth the Uchiha did not know. How did you discover my desire if you don't me asking? Said Itachi with Naruto pulling out a book that was the Sandaime Hokage's personal journal he had acquired after the old man left for the stadium the day of the Chunin exam finals. The Sandaime Hokage was very thorough in his work and writing everything down in the event such evidence was needed to help himself or hurt those around him, said Naruto, having read the dated paragraph where Itachi told the Sandaime his reason for agreeing to the liquidation of his clan. I see, said Itachi while his anger over the old man's disregard for turning his noble act into something twisted. Enough talk, Itachi. Pain wants this guy captured and that's what we're going to do, said Kisame before grabbing Samehada from his back. For the Kyuubi, said Naruto simply while their eyes widened in surprise. You know? Said Itachi with Naruto smirking at him. It's not hard to figure out, Itachi. You need me for something, but that something is sealed inside of my body and there is only one thing sealed inside my body anyone would want to have in their possession. Tell me, Itachi, where is the justice in that? Said Naruto with Itachi stiffening and prevented Kisame from moving forward with an outstretched hand. What do you mean? Said Itachi with Naruto shrugging at him. I mean, where is the justice in kidnapping me when I refuse to come with you to your boss because he wants what I have inside my body? By doing this, you serve someone who is no better than Konoha in wanting to use me, if only for a brief time, and then no doubt cast my person away once my purpose has ended. Like I was nothing. Where is the justice in that, Itachi? Said Naruto with Itachi going deep in thought about this. Justice, my ass. I'm this for the power. You're either a shark in this world or a fish that gets eaten by the sharks, said Kisame, while Itachi narrowed his eyes and saw Naruto was looking at him expectantly. Kisame, said Itachi simply to get the man's attention while Naruto kept on smirking at him. What? Said Kisame turning to look at his partner in crime. Goodbye. Tsukiyomi. Said Itachi turning his head to look at Kisame with Sharingan active, and that was all the mist shinobi would see before darkness claimed him with the sound of sword cutting through flesh being heard throughout the training ground. You're cutting all ties with the Akatsuki. Just like that? Said Naruto curiously. Yes. The path of justice cannot be obtained by siding with the Akatsuki. The fastest path to justice is the path I walk. What Pain has in mind for using the Biju will take too long, and it is not justice. I only joined to protect myself from Hunter Nin seeking to collect my bounty, said Itachi with Naruto nodding. And your eyes? How are they? Said Naruto with Itachi stiffening again. Iubi told you about the curse of our Sharingan eyes, I take it. Said Itachi simply with Naruto's smirk growing. In the event I had to face someone like you or someone with it, said Naruto with Itachi nodding. My eyesight is nearly lost. It won't be long before I'm completely blind. To be honest, I don't really care for eyesight, and seeing the idiots of the world smiling has always been something of a distaste that comes with it, said Itachi seeing Naruto look sad by this, but nodded in understanding and motioned for Itachi to follow him Uzukage Tower. Uzukage Tower. You wish to join Whirlpool? Said Tsunade having been in the office with Shizune with both women being on guard against the Uchiha since he had killed his entire clan. Yes. Officially, I am a missing nin of Konoha and now soon to be considered a former agent of the organization once I failed to report in with Kisame, said Itachi before giving Zabuza the sealing scroll holding Kisame's body with another holding the late missing nin's sword. And unofficially? Said Tsunade seeing Itachi look at Naruto, who nodded to him to tell them everything and proceed with his confession. I am a spy for Konoha. To infiltrate the Akatsuki, learn its secrets, purpose, and what they want with the 9 Biju. Though I doubt the reason for knowing is not honorable like they want me to believe, said Itachi with the group in the room grimacing since it was most likely true. They want to know what the Akatsuki have planned so they can prevent it and yet use their own tactics to gain the Biju for themselves, said Tsunade with Itachi nodding since he got that feeling too. The 9 were originally from Konoha under the supervision of the Shadame Hokage himself. Your grandfather then scattered 8 of the 9 to the other shinobi villages to promote peace and prevent the other villages banding together to take them in a violent war, Tsunade-sama, said Itachi, while Naruto frowned at this information and Kyuubi did too, since he didn't like being used. And now the powers that be want them all back again under one roof. All 9 Biju in 9 vessels, who are all submissive and loyal to them like attack dogs, said Naruto with his voice being dangerously low, with anger laced in it. How do you want to proceed, Naruto? Said Zabuza with a boy's scowl leaving for a smile that spoke of wicked things running around in the Uzumaki's skull. Simple. We do what Konoha planned to do, but in a different way and different result from the end of such a plan, said Naruto seeing them looking at him intently. You wish to bring the other Jinchuriki here? Even Yugura? Said Zabuza while seeing Naruto nod. Unlike their villages, Whirlpool will not treat them like weapons, but rather as people, and unlike the Akatsuki we will give them a choice. If they say no, then we simply move on to the next Jinchuriki and deliver the offer while keeping tabs on them for when the Akatsuki do come around. Just because they turn down the offer doesn't mean we leave them to fighting the organization alone without backup. As for Yugura, I do not believe his actions are his own and I sense something amiss with his behavior. If I am incorrect, then the man will be dealt with accordingly and will handle the return of the 3 tails when it resurfaces upon the Mizukage's death, said Naruto, while the others saw how that could help them in the long run. There is one more thing. Uchiha Madara is the one behind Kyuubi's attack years ago. He killed the Sandaime Hokage's wife and the bodyguards watching over your mother, said Itachi, making everyone look at him with surprise. Are you sure? Uchiha Madara is supposed to be dead. Said Tsunade seeing Itachi nod. He came to me at least a year before the order came down to kill the rest of my clan to offer me a position in his organization. Offered to train me and even assisted in killing members of my clan when the time came when he visited to check on my progress, said Itachi, knowing this was a lot to take in all at once. Where is their base of operations? Being so high up a member you would have gone there, said Tsunade with Itachi looking at her for a second. It's a name. Underneath it to be exact. While Uchiha Madara is the real leader via the shadows, the official leader of the Akatsuki is a man by the name of Pain and he killed Salamander Hanzo to take control of AIM. While not as strong as Madara himself, Pain possesses the Rinnegan eyes and is stronger than myself, said Itachi with this piece of information shocking everyone. Even Naruto. The Rinnegan. But how can he possess such a taijutsu? It's a myth, isn't it? Such an eye is only that of legend, said Shizune while Naruto shook his head. A sage of six paths was also considered a legend too, yet many believe he existed and had a hand in creating the 9 Biju, said Naruto simply while Tsunade could only concede to that fact since it was true. How many members are there in the group? Said Zabuza curiously. Aside from myself and Kisame until now. Pain, a woman by the name of Konan, and Madara under the alias Toby. Orochimaru was once with the organization for a time, but after an altercation with me, he left the Akatsuki to go on his own, and I was under the impression 2 more recruits would soon arrive though, when that it is I don't know, said Itachi with Naruto thinking things over in his mind. Perhaps you still can. They have no way of knowing if you abandoned the organization, correct? Said Naruto with Itachi nodding. Correct, said Itachi while wondering where Naruto was going with this. Then I suggest doing what you've been doing since joining the Akatsuki and spy on the organization for us. You were already doing it for Konoha and you can now do it for us. However, since Jiraiya will need to be convinced you still spy for him, any information you give the Sannin must be partially accurate and provide us with who is going after which Jinchuriki. With Kisame dead, they will need to put you with a new partner and no doubt make another attempt in capturing me when not going after the Biju. We can use this to kill more of the organization's members on the disguise of being slain during the attempts on myself if not the other Jinchuriki, said Naruto seeing Itachi nod as he could do that and just long enough until the Akatsuki was weakened to the point where Naruto could deliver the final blow. I doubt they will believe the lie of Naruto killing Kisame since he was tougher than most of the other 7 swordsmen of the mist. The official story will be he was defeated by Senju Tsunade shortly after recruiting her and Shizune to his little group with teamwork being the key to his death, said Zabuza with Itachi nodding at using this cover story due to it being believable. One more thing Itachi. Do you know your sword's name? Said Naruto with Itachi now looking startled by the question. How did you know I could talk to it? Said Itachi with Naruto smiling at him. You are not the only one granted such power. As to question yes. No. Said Naruto curiously. I can hear my sword's voice, but not its name, and I can feel with each day my blindness gets stronger the possibility of hearing it increasing. I can only conclude that in order to hear its name, I must first be denied eyesight and see beyond what my eyes see in front of me now, said Itachi with Tsunade and Shizune looking a tad confused by the question and conversation they were having in front of them. Then that is clearly the price you must pay Itachi, said Naruto simply with Itachi just nodding his head. It is something I made peace with the moment I learned of the effect of using the power of the Sharingan in that manner, said Itachi with Naruto's smirk increasing slightly. And your brother? Said Naruto curiously. Sasuke has been perverted from the vision I wanted him to become when I laid the path to redeeming the Uchiha clan. When the time comes he will die, said Itachi, knowing it was going to cross each other's path again one day. Only the next time it happens it would be for the last time. Konoha. This is disturbing news. Senju Tsunade has joined our enemies and all out of spite. She should know her loyalty is to this village and not the Kyuubi brat just because he is her supposed godson, said Homura with the others nodding in agreement. I say she gets put in the bingo book. S-class missing nin just like Orochimaru was and Naruto himself will be SS-class missing nin on account of his Jinchuriki status. We will put a bounty on both of them so high, even those closest to their hearts will sell them out for a small finder's fee and make things easier for us when we take them down, said a civilian council member, with many nodding in agreement. What of Hyuga Hinata? Well, Mitarashi Anko is of no concern in bringing back to the village given her past affiliation with Orochimaru, we can still save the Hyuga girl from further taint by the demon brat and bring her back to Konoha to be re-educated in manner befitting her station, said Kaharu, as she saw many ponder this. And knew it would not be easy decision since the girl did possess the Byakugan. We will make the attempt to retrieve her and have Inoichi erase the memories she had being with the brat. Once that happens, her clan can place the cage bird seal on the girl's head and kept a close eye on in the event something still lingers within, said Danzo, as he saw many agreed with that approach and Hiashi did too, since he did not approve his daughter being with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. What about the Uchiha? He's been asking for someone to train him to fight at Naruto's level. Not only that, but the other rookies are asking questions and their Jounin senseis are doing their best to avoid answering, said Tsume, knowing how the Uchiha was now bitching about getting stronger so he could beat Naruto before facing off against Itachi. Have various shinobi train the Uchiha. With his Sharingan eyes active, he can learn things even faster and with an arsenal of jutsus under his belt, will bring the demon brat down even further, said Homura, while Jiraiya sighed and shook his head. It doesn't matter what you do, Naruto won't be taken down so easily and there is the fact his illusionary powers can make us think we've hit him when in fact it could be the exact opposite, said Jiraiya having seen Orochimaru himself become fooled by the power of such illusionary skills. Nonsense. All the Uchiha has to do is use his Sharingan to break such things, and then the Kyuubi Jinchuriki will become powerless, said Danzo, while secretly hoping that his physical alterations would be able to overpower the boy long enough to turn him into an obedient pet. Whatever. Since Tsunade isn't going to be Hokage, I will have to step in, and be it until someone much younger than myself can fill the shoes, said Jiraiya, knowing it would upset Danzo and allow him to handle some things from this position of power. Like backtracking Naruto's movements to the point where he found that sword and how he got stronger because of it. Jiraiya knew he had seen that weapon before, but for the life of himself, he couldn't think of where his eyes had seen it and would need the position of Hokage to do that. Akatsuki HQ. Kisame is dead. How? Said Pain while his eyes staring into Itachi's own. Naruto along with his allies consisting of Orochimaru's former bodyguards and Senju Tsunade of the Sannin fought the two of us. They used teamwork to keep me at bay, and Kisame was overpowered with Tsunade smashing his face in with one of her well-timed super strength enhanced punches. Being the best medic nin in the elemental countries, she knows where to strike with such hits and where they can do the most damage, said Itachi, while Pain narrowed his eyes at him. This is unfortunate. Kisame's death delays us from reaching our goal and gathering strong members for taking on the Jinchuriki of each shinobi village. For now, we will be silent and wait until our ranks swell again while gathering intel on the location of each of the 9 Jinchuriki, said Pain with Itachi nodding. Who will be my partner in pursuing Uzumaki Naruto should the opportunity present itself again? Said Itachi since he was in need of a replacement partner. Sasori of the Red Sands will be your partner until we can find a suitable replacement on a permanent level, where defeating someone of the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's level won't be too difficult, said Pain, seeing one of the shadows in the room nod, while Itachi silently let his muscles unclench from the fear of Pain pairing him up with Tobi. I understand, said Itachi knowing he and Sasori had no problems with each other since they both entered the organization. Hokage's office. You wanted to see us, Jiraiya? Said Kakashi seeing the Sannin turned Hokage nod while looking at him and Kurenai. Yes. When Naruto was on your team Kakashi, did you ever sense anything off about him or any kind of genjutsu around his body Kurenai? Said Jiraiya seeing the two shake their heads no. Never. My Sharingan was active twice when around him, with the first being when we fought Zabuza the first time heading into Wave Country and then a second time on the incomplete bridge. Granted, the second time I was focused on Zabuza and he had made the mist thicker than usual to combat my Sharingan eye, said Kakashi seeing Jiraiya nod since there was a chance the mist had interfered in some way with the Sharingan and the fact there was even some mist during the first encounter, according to the report Jiraiya read. I couldn't sense anything off about him and I'm one of the most skilled in genjutsu for someone not of Uchiha blood. Granted, I wasn't around him a lot, but I was close enough during the Chunin exam preliminaries to know if there was a genjutsu on him or some other illusionary ability we have yet to discover, said Kurenai with Jiraiya looking even more troubled. He also apparently cast the illusion over Hinata to make us see a shy girl, but if that is the case, how did such a power fool the Byakugan? Said Jiraiya making the two Jounin senseis look startled by this news since they just realized this too. Niji fought Hinata with his eyes practically at full power. If anyone should have seen through the illusion Naruto made it should have been him, said Kurenai, while Jiraiya nodded in agreement. Meaning this power can fool even the Byakugan. The Hyuga clan isn't going to like this one bit, said Jiraiya knowing that was a headache waiting to happen. We need to find a means to combat Naruto and this power. Considering he's one of the 9 known Jinchuriki in the elemental countries, perhaps we should try combating him with another Jinchuriki and use the fights to study his power, said Kakashi thoughtfully, while Jiraiya also thought about that course of action. It's possible. Though Suna won't let us do that, even if we've become allies again due to the circumstance behind them allying with Orochimaru and wanting to prove they've still got the right to be one of the 5 major shinobi villages. Kumo is out of the question due to Konoha being on thin ice with them after that deal to keep the peace roughly a decade ago, and they'd probably ask for a Hyuga again for compensation. Mist is currently in chaos, so asking the Mizukage for help is out of the question since we all know what he thinks of bloodlines. The only other village which has a Jinchuriki is a minor one named Taki, and that was because Tsunade's grandfather gave them the Biju to promote peace after the failed attempt on his life by one of their shinobi, said Jiraiya, with both shinobi interested in knowing more. Taki? Aren't they neutral or at least side in favor with us most of the time when conflicts around their country happen? Said Kakashi having heard the name of the village many years ago. Yes. I know their village leader. He's on good speaking terms with me and explain how the girl named Fu was chosen for being the vessel of for the 7-tailed beetle. Their Jinchuriki has been hassled by its people all her life and we can use it to our advantage in convincing them to let us borrow her for attacking Naruto. All we need to do is instill fear into the overall populace in the belief that our rogue Jinchuriki is just a sign of possible things to come, as all of the Jinchuriki may come to believe they are too powerful to be controlled, and I even use the Mizukage himself as a key example with his bloodline civil war he started shortly after taking office, said Jiraiya, while thinking it over in his head. Also, it could be used as a good excuse to have the village send their Jinchuriki off on a mission she'll most likely never return from again, and even if this girl did we can always lie while turning her into one of our shinobi, said Kakashi, with Jiraiya agreeing, since such a thing wasn't impossible to do if done correctly. That will be a contingency plan in the event Fu fails to defeat Naruto with her Jinchuriki powers, said Jiraiya, knowing it was going to take a bit of sweet talking on his end when speaking to Taki's leader about this idea. I wonder what else Naruto has hidden from us. First, it was his real self, then Hinata's true appearance, and finally Anko with those two revealing themselves because they had nothing to hide anymore. But Naruto's had 4 years moving around under that illusion doing Kami only knows what and could have done something else with it, said Kurenai with Jiraiya and Kakashi nodding, since that fact was unmistakably true. Which is why we need to plan a way to take Naruto down, said Jiraiya, before quickly dismissing the shinobi from the room to bring about the proposed plan. Whirlpool Country Hospital. Why didn't you tell us you had these two after sound was destroyed? Said Jirobo seeing Jugo and Segestu standing in the same room with Kamimuro being there to make sure the orange-haired man sane while here. Would it have made a difference? Said Naruto simply while Tsunade examined both shinobi that Orochimaru had taken an interest in. Maybe, said Jirobo before being elbowed by Taiya. Shut your fucking mouth you fat ass. Said Taiya while Naruto gave her a look of disapproval in his eyes. Language Taiya. Use your inner voice, said Naruto while Taiya blushed and looked away from him. That voice probably swears just as badly, said Kidomaru with Taiya glaring at him. More than likely. How do they look Tsunade? Are they healthy? Said Naruto while ignoring Taiya's angry red face and focused on the two other individuals he had saved when in Rice Country. Both are healthy. Though from what I understand, Jugo here is the basis for the curse seal these four had and his bloodline is currently unstable. I'll have to figure out a way to treat it, but until then, I'm suggesting he along with Kamimuro be roommates and be near the other at all times until one can be discovered, said Tsunade with neither individual protesting that. What about me? Said Segestu while seeing Naruto turning to look at him. What do you want to do now that you're free? Said Naruto with Segestu thinking for a moment. I want to be one of the 7 swordsmen. Said Segestu finally since it had been his dream for a long time. Really? Interesting. Zabuza is officially dead but is very much alive and I won't allow him to be slain since he is the cage of our village. Still you yourself are a swordsman taught in mist before Orochimaru got his hands on you and as such should have a weapon befitting such a right, said Naruto before taking the storage scroll that housed Samehada and throwing it to Segestu. This is said Segestu once he saw the weapon in his hands. Sadly, the 7 swordsmen of the mist has been fractured beyond all repair and thus members of the group are scattered to the wind. They are either dead or missing nin, said Naruto seeing Segestu looking at the weapon in his hands. So where does that leave me exactly with this? Said Segestu seeing Naruto smirk at him. Here of course. I was thinking of starting up my own version of the 7 swordsmen here in Whirlpool. Since Abusa is the Uzukage, I can't exactly have him leading both just yet until I take over for him when old enough and we need recruits. You will be one of them Segestu, said Naruto with the man looking thrilled to be part of something like this. Who else do you have in mind for candidacy? Said Segestu curiously. Mitarashi Anko for one. Hyuga Hinata when she's old enough and Mamachi Haku in a few more years, said Naruto with Segestu grinning like a perverted idiot. Sweet. In a few years I'll be surrounded by hot women. This is awesome, said Segestu before being hit by an intense spiritual pressure from Naruto, which made the man turn to liquid, and only when did it stop did the swordsman solidify again. Try anything perverted with any of them, and you will wish Orochimaru was still alive to experiment on your body, said Naruto with Segestu stumbling a bit once returning to solid form. Right. Keep hands to myself. Got it. Said Segestu while Naruto smirked once more and then refocused on the sound 3, though Kamimura Mary joined the ranks to turn it into the sound 4 again. Maybe the sound 5 if Yugo decided to join them too, provided his condition didn't go beyond the realm of possible treatment by Tsunade of course. What's next on the agenda? Said Jirobo curiously. Finding the other Jinchuriki and offering them a true home here in Whirlpool where they will be treated with the respect they deserve, said Naruto before leaving the room. Suna. Is this information accurate? Said Baki seeing the report handed to him while Gaara sat in the hospital bed beside him still healing from the injuries Naruto delivered during the Chunin exam finals. They had been back for a little while in Suna, handling internal affairs after the report of the Kazekage found dead in the desert and Orochimaru impersonating the man since that time. Gaara had been reflecting on his life after his defeat, escaping during the invasion, which never happened due to Naruto killing so many of their shinobi, and Orochimaru's sound shinobi in the process before the signal was sent out. Now there was talk of who would replace the late Kazekage, and Baki was currently the temporary replacement until it was decided on whether or not to make Gaara the man's successor. A little dated since we've been busy with our own problems, but it is still very accurate nonetheless, and the newest bingo book just came out, said the Suna Jounin, who gave Baki the report and then showed the latest entries into its pages. I see. Even Senjutsunate herself has been put in it and a mark on it, saying her Sannin traveling rights have been revoked should she travel into Fire Country by Konoha, said Baki, while Gaara was deep in thought about things. Baki, said Gaara at last. Yes, Gaara, said Baki turning to his student. Am I a monster like the village has always proclaimed me to be since birth? Said Gaara while Baki was surprised by the sudden question and it took a moment to think over a proper response. No. Gaara, the reason why the village treated you so badly was due to your father's own designs for Suna to achieve greater power. The village was dying financially and he was slowly going mad over the fact Konoha was taking it all away from us. After you had Shukaku sealed inside your body, he wanted you to become a living weapon in order to make Suna recognized once more as one of the great 5 shinobi villages and bring back lost clients. To do this, he felt you needed to be hated and attacked on all sides to bring out the demon's power in manipulating the sand. You are only a monster if you choose to be one, but now that there is a chance of becoming Kazekage and being the village's protector while ruling over the people of Suna, said Baki, while Gaara was processing his words. I heard a rumor the Mizukage is a Jinchuriki like me and started the bloodline civil war to purge it of all bloodlines. Is this true? Said Gaara with Baki hesitating for a second. Yes, it's true. I theorized the Mizukage became spiteful of the village and decided to take it out on those with bloodlines, since those with bloodlines are considered more of a threat to a Jinchuriki than those without them, said Baki with Gaara frowning slightly. I don't want to be a monster anymore, but I also don't think I can serve Suna either and risk going mad with power should the title of Kazekage become mine, said Gaara with Baki nodding since the boy's instability up until now and the seat of power the title of Kazekage bestows could bring the red-haired child up there with a 3-tailed vessel in mist. We'll find some measure of middle ground, Gaara. If you don't want to be Kazekage in the future, I'll understand if it's your decision and no one will pressure you into it, said Baki knowing Temari or Kankuro could take over the position if the Jounin himself had decided to let one of the late Kazekage's children become the village's leader. Thank you Baki-sensei, said Gaara while trying to figure out his next move for himself regarding Shukaku. There is still the matter of your seal not being entirely stable, said Baki, as he had long since told the late Kazekage of how Gaara would probably be able to use the Biju's power if the seal were stronger and the man told him to drop it. I do not wish to live my life like this anymore Baki-sensei. I want to know what it means to sleep without fear of Shukaku awakening to take control and dream without it turning into a nightmare, said Gaara, while the pain in his shoulder echoed still through his body. Sadly, the only person truly capable of strengthening your seal would be Jiraiya of the Sannin. But maybe, said Baki with a bit of afterthought while rubbing his chin. Maybe what? Said Gaara since he knew Baki was thinking of a possible alternative. It has long been said the Uzumaki clan were skilled in the sealing arts and it was one of the reasons they were feared in the elemental countries. Since Naruto is apparently in Uzumaki, we could request he look at the seal and strengthen it and ultimately help you sleep better in the process, said Baki with Gaara thinking this over in his head. He is an enemy of Konoha, said Gaara, knowing that killing the Sandaime Hokage, who was admired by many people in the Leaf Village during the Chunin exam finals, would have that effect on its people and no doubt make its shinobi hungry for the Uzumaki's blood. True. However, the new alliance treaty Kankuro helped right after we returned to Suna has yet to be signed due to Jiraiya being busy with other matters and until it's signed, we are officially neutral to them until that point. If you can reach Naruto and have him fix the seal before the treaty is signed, then Suna will be safe from any political backlash in the event it's discovered you went to him for help, said Baki, knowing that the loophole was small like threading a needle, but it would be worth it to give this boy a chance to have some kind of normal life. And not be the insane monster the late Kazekage had so harshly envisioned. When will I be well enough to travel? Said Gaara knowing the sooner he could depart the better. Not for another couple of days at the least. Don't try to push it, Gaara. I know you hate waiting, but I wouldn't say this unless it was true and patience pays off in the long run, said Baki with Gaara nodding in agreement. I understand Baki-sensei and thank you for putting up with me, said Gaara with the Jounin being surprised by the red-haired boy's humble tone. Temari will accompany you when the time comes to find Naruto. However, if you are unable to find him before the alliance treaty is signed, return to Suna at once and make sure no one knows of your reason for being away from Suna," said Baki, seeing Gaara nod, knowing Konoha would raise a fuss if they did once the alliance was made official. Gaara nodded. Inside his head, Shukaku was nervous, pleading with the boy to not lock him away and actually apologizing for making the kid an insomniac. Not that Gaara was not listening to him. He was going to be sane, yet strong enough to use the Bijuu's power properly, and Gaara had a feeling Uzumaki Naruto knew how that was possible. All the red-haired boy had to do was find and